Hey y'all, Matt here with a quick production note on this episode. The scale and scope of this one kind of multiplied multiple times over while we were recording it. I think you can kind of hear my little brain tinkering away with the editing process in the middle of us recording the episode, trying to figure stuff out on the fly. So, to keep it short, this episode is pretty jam-packed. You're going to hear a lot of music, and we don't have time to go over all of it, especially because most of it wasn't originally planned to be in the episode. So this is just a reminder that if you ever hear songs you like and are curious and you don't hear us specifically shouting them out, every episode of Bit Harmony has a description with every song we play in the episode, as well as a YouTube playlist with every song in the episode. So if you hear anything you like, and we don't mention it, just head that way, and you'll be able to find it eventually. Honestly, with how many songs are in this episode, it still might take you a while. But anyway, I will send you over to your two regular hosts, and thank you so much for listening. Welcome back to Bit Harmony, a video game music podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Seth.
Today we're talking about gaming in the early 2000s, as well as the gaming music of the early 2000s. Our intro this episode is Electric Clouds by Posu, and that's a Chrono Trigger remix, and we're going to play that for you now.
gentler than a washcloth in water, as comforting as a lover's caress, ephemeral like a forgotten summer breeze from childhood. You can never recapture those feelings you had when you were 17, but the dulcet tones of Matt and Seth talking about video game music might make you feel something again.
It's time for Bit Harmony!
And that was Electric Clouds by Posu Yan, an OC remix of Corridor of Time from Chrono Trigger. That was posted December 24th, 2003 to really... I figured a Chrono Trigger thing was a good opener for like, hey, we're going back in time, where we're...
Oh, yeah, sure.
We're traveling back to the bygone era of the early 2000s. That was my logic.
A well-considered pick. Yeah, a well-considered OC remix. By the way, I'm just so excited for this episode. I think this episode is going to be so much fun, and I love that we're like starting off right with OC remixes, because I feel like this one, you know, I don't know why this is the first thing that popped in my head. This is the energy you're getting from me this morning. Much like the Martina McBride hit, "This one's for the girls." This one's for the gamers, Matt. This one is for the real heads. This one's for the ones who were there downloading OC remixes in 2003. Like, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, this one's for the AARP members that were using LimeWire and Kazaa and stuff.
I do be getting those AARP emails with some regularity. So
speaking of downloading OC remixes back then, what were your thoughts on Electric Clouds? I hadn't listened to this in probably at least 15 years, if not longer.
Yeah, same. This one took me right back. Like I had forgotten about this remix entirely, but man, like the second it started, I was like, oh my god, yes. It's funny how like it just kind of uses some of the instrumentation, like that sort of like jazzy like keys and bass that almost make it like, at least when it starts, it almost sounds like one of those like early internet educational videos or something. And it kind of has this like kind of 90s R&B like filter, like you're on a late night drive home from the movies on a date night in 1994, you know. it's so good.
The finger snap sample is so like generic sounding. I love it. It's so good. And again, you know, we might have some things to say about like, again, we're revisiting a lot of these OC remixes and whatever for the first time in who knows how long. So like a part of that is going to be like, oh yeah, this doesn't sound as good as I remember it in some ways.
Totally. Yeah.
And yeah, I have a lot to say about that when we get to some more OC remix stuff later on. But yeah, this was one of the first OC remixes I remember like getting really jazzed about. Specifically Posu Yan. I think his name back then was like Po with an exclamation mark. He was one of my favorite OC remixers back then. There was a Gemini Man remix from Mega Man 3 that he did. I think that was posted later. It was in the back half of the 2000s, so I excluded it from this episode.
Sure.
Yeah, his big signature was he played violin, as you can hear in Electric Clouds. I didn't even play Chrono Trigger yet when I first heard this. I think this song or this remix was the song that made me interested in Chrono Trigger, to give you reference and to just show you just how like how much influence OC remix like had on my taste and like
totally
even like my personality. But we'll save that for later. I think we have a dedicated or more dedicated OC remix section.
So there's plenty to say about OC remix for sure, because like, yeah, that was such a big piece of like kind of my, you know, and again, we'll get into this more later, but it's such a big piece of like my history of kind of getting more into video game music, like just an incredible resource. So yeah, it was, there's almost nothing as nostalgic, like to me, as like going back to some of this stuff. And yeah, like I hadn't thought about this song in easily 15 years. So
yeah. Like basically every song that you and I both linked to each other I was like, oh yeah, this song. Oh yeah, I have
Mm-hmm.
vivid memories of riding the school bus to middle school, listening to this on like my portable CD player or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, lot of memories of that, and I think that's a good setup for like, yeah, that's what this episode is going to be about. If you weren't sure by us just saying early 2000s, this is basically just Seth and I. We're going to be reminiscing about stuff like that for God knows how long. The notes on this episode are extensive.
Right.
But before we get to any of that, do we want to do our more formal greetings and chatter before we get to the episode proper?
Yeah, sure. We have plenty of stuff to kind of shout out here. First of all, I want to thank reviewers who reviewed the show on their podcatcher of choice, just like you can, dear listener. On Spotify, we got 2 new ratings since last we met, bringing us up to now 11 5-star ratings on Spotify. So thanks so much to the folks who did that. Really just like the best way to support the show, just super quick and easy to do. If you like what you hear, leave us that rating. And then we got a 5-star rating on US iTunes from 61 Fight Girl. And I was telling you before we started, I think I know who this is, but I'm not 100%. But with that being said, thank you to 61 Fight Girl for the 5-star review, the title of their review is Connecting, and the body of the review is just Big Rich All Life.
Mm-hmm.
So
I thought it was beautiful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, if you leave us a written review, I'll make sure it gets shouted out here on the show as well. So thank you to 61 Fight Girl. That's right.
You two will be connecting to us, Big Rich All Life. If you leave a 5-star review, only 5-star reviews though. You don't get anything. You don't get any connecting for anything else than a 5-star.
I won't shout out your 2-star review. That's like the show was just okay. Yeah, so shout outs to those. Thanks for leaving reviews, y'all. Thanks for the continued love and support on this show. We also had one thing that was really kind of cool. And we've been really fortunate in the reception and feedback of our episodes thus far, especially since we have now done like 2 indie games, and both of the composers have listened to those episodes, at least as far as we know, because we did get a comment from ZC on Twitter after they listened to the episode, because I tagged them when I posted it and stuff, and they listened to it, and that was very kind.
Yeah. Were you gonna read it off, or did you want me to read it off?
Sure.
And we both have it pulled up.
Yeah, I'll read it off here. So ZC said, just finished listening. Thanks for covering the soundtrack. Was so cool hearing folks react to it in detail. That strum on Prickly Situation is indeed an omnichord sound with 2 exclamation marks. If you had any other burning questions, I'd be happy to answer them. What a validating comment that was. The called shot on the omnichord. I felt so... I have not, like, when that comment came in, I remember my wife was home. It was over the weekend. I was doing dishes, and I heard my phone go off, and I still had, like, soap and stuff on my hands when I saw the comment come in, and I just, from the kitchen, yelled, "Hell yeah!" And my wife was like, "What?" You know? And I excitedly told her the long story of calling the fact that an omnichord is present in that song.
I was going to say, you tell her to sit down and get ready for this one, because it's...
Get ready for that tale. Yeah. So it was just really cool to hear that.
Yeah, I was very happy for you with that. That was a very validating moment. I also wanted to shout this out specifically because I think a lot about like how rare it is for people to like shout out creators, and in that sense, I'm not talking about people shouting out us. I'm specifically talking about like people shouting out composers like ZC, like Melos and stuff. Like, you know, I'm gonna say this, and I know you've heard this story a billion times. I met my wife just by complimenting her art, right? Like,
right.
And you know, as we got to know each other, I think I had made some jokes sometime about like, oh yeah, you probably talk to all the people that tell you your art is good or whatever. She's like, you would be very shocked by how few people go out of their way to compliment art. Even in the modern age where it is easier than ever to be positive and like tell someone you enjoyed a thing that they did. So I was always the kind of person, even before then, to like go out of my way to be like, hey, I liked this thing that you did,
Right.
specifically to the person whenever I got the chance. But after that, yeah, it really became like a bigger mission in my life to just let people know when I can, and without it being too like sounding like I'm buttering them up. Like, hey, I think the thing you made was real damn good. It is very like, yeah, I don't know. It's heartwarming to me to get responses back from the artists that have made the cool things that we're talking about. Not just for my ego or anything like that, but just to know that like they heard this, they heard us gushing about their work, and they're like, oh, cool, people are gushing about my work.
Right. Yeah. That it's a good feeling when you know that like you're connecting to somebody at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a good feeling to know that like what you're doing is making at least some small difference in somebody else's life. So I definitely it felt good to know that they heard it, you know, that they actually listened to it, because another thing is like, wow, like you really kind of buckled in for a big commitment,
Right.
listening into like a 2-hour plus episode about your work. And I'm hopeful that meant something to them. And it was nice that they reached out and said that. So not to like toot our own horn too much, but it was just nice. It was nice and validating feedback to know that they got the message. So.
Yeah, and like I said, from my perspective, like, yeah, please tell any artist that you, and by artist I mean anyone who makes anything that you like if you have the opportunity, like, please let them know. And that's not compliment fishing. I mean, you can leave 5-star reviews for Bit Harmony on your
any artists that are just like around, like making podcasts that you like, I guess. I mean, whatever.
It also made me think about I think it was I read an interview, it was either with the Mega Man 2 composer or the Mega Man 3 composer, and how they talked about like they didn't know for decades that the soundtrack they made is like this super beloved thing. Like they just went into work, they made the soundtrack, and then they went on and did other things, and without the existence of the internet back then, it just was like, yeah, that's just a thing I put out there, and I don't know how people liked it. Like, that's very sad to me. And again, back in the 80s and 90s, yeah, that happened probably very often. I think David Weiss has said similar things of like, yeah, I don't know, I made a soundtrack for this game, and I just put myself into it, and then I found out like 15 years later it's this super beloved thing. So yeah, it is kind of my mission statement in general to make sure that if I like a thing, I'm going to go out of my way to make sure other people know, including the person that made it, that I like it. But yeah, that was just, I think that's all I had to say about that. I think I ranted enough about, hey, tell me how much you like me and the stuff I do. Or don't.
Just show your love to artists who make stuff that you love. We should say too, just really quickly, no voicemails this week. We have unfortunately broken our voicemail streak. It had to happen eventually. But just as a reminder, anybody who does want to send in voicemails to the show to be played on air, send them in to bitharmonypod@gmail.com. There's always links in the show notes so that you have access to that. We are happy to play your voicemails here on the show. We love them. And and that can be anything. It can be, I mean, literally anything you want to send in. We will probably play it and react to it. It could be about the game that we're talking about. It could be about the last episode, whatever. So send them on in. We're happy to take them.
Yeah, I was wondering if people didn't have anything to send in because like the topic of early 2000s just sounded too broad or whatever. But yeah, again,
Sure.
like Seth said, you can send in whatever. It doesn't have to be about the upcoming episode. Anything is fine as long as you're not a weirdo creep. With that said, do we want to take our next break and then get into the episode? Okay.
Yes.
For our next break, of course, I had to sneak a Paper Mario 64 song in here.
Hell yeah, dude.
It came out in 2001, no matter what your memories might tell you.
It counts.
But yeah, we're going to take a quick break for Over Shiver Mountain from Paper Mario, and then we will be right back. And that was, once again, Over Shiver Mountain from Paper Mario, which, gun to my head, I think that's probably my favorite song off of the original Paper Mario soundtrack. I don't know about you.
It's up there. It's either this or probably either this or Shooting Star Summit for me. Yeah.
Shooting Star Summit is like, whenever I replay the game, like it gets me teary-eyed every time.
Same.
Especially because Paper Mario 64, that was like the video game that like got me into video games in a bigger way. Like before that, I was just, I was just a normal kid. My mind wasn't completely occupied by video games. I also went outside and did stuff like that too. But I don't know. After Paper Mario in 5th grade, that was like a passing of the Rubicon for me. Like everything changed after that. I was pre-ordering GameCubes after that. So yeah, it is my favorite Nintendo game of all time. At some point we could probably do a whole episode on it, but it won't be anytime soon for reasons that are probably obvious to anyone listening.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also just, in terms of some notes, there wasn't like, the song is pretty short. I just looped it twice. But maybe this is like recency bias. I could totally hear in my head Kendrick Lamar rapping over this and just absolutely murdering Drake's soul again.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
Like I can hear the lines about him being an absent father at around like 40 seconds in when like the xylophones come in.
Totally, like, those like spooky, almost like Carnival Funhouse xylophones. Adonis, I'll raise you right. Oh man, just bodied him, dude.
Yeah, and that's Paper Mario. It's
those are the vibes. Those are the vibes of Paper Mario on the Nintendo 64 are not dissimilar to Kendrick Lamar's Drake dish tracks.
The fact that there's a plural at the end of that it's tracks and not just track. That's
he basically incredible. Made an album of dish tracks. Yeah, effectively. Basically made like a small EP of Drake dish tracks. It was really good. Yeah, I don't know. I love this song still, though. It's got like, but it also, though, even though it has those kind of vibes, like you're saying, it still checks the boxes of like a good like cold level song. And by that it means, I just mean like sleigh bells, check, synth, check, arpeggiated keyboard, check. Like it's just got all of that stuff, and it also has those kind of like those like drum kicks that kind of like. It almost makes sure that the song doesn't edge too far into like the ethereal, which is what most kind of like cold level tracks do. So the song has a really good balance of that. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's probably my favorite song on the soundtrack. But yeah, you're right. Shooting Star Summit is also very, very up there.
What a game!
Yeah, what a game! Almost like it's better than Thousand Year Door.
Tell them. Say it louder for the folks in the back.
I'm letting that sit there. I'm not editing that silence out. I'm just letting that go. Let's get into some stats. I figured before we get really in the weeds in our own memories and stuff, we'd give you guys some like objective facts of the era, video game facts of the era.
I love those.
Yeah, that's a good anchor point, I think. So I don't know. You have a reminder of what was going on back then, or if you weren't alive back then, you have some kind of understanding of what was going on. And by stats, I mostly mean I've written down a lot of like the primary video game consoles that were out at the time, as well as some stats about them. So let's start off with the Sega Dreamcast. That did launch in late 1998 in Japan and then 1999 everywhere else. So a little before the era we're talking about, but the majority of its lifespan was in the early 2000s, albeit it was a pretty short lifespan in general.
Yeah. Wasn't it like 99.99 here? Wasn't that the whole thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the big marketing push, yeah. Which, hey,
I remember it.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that marketing push way more than anything with the PS2. So the only thing I remember about the PS2 is that it was a DVD player. And yeah, if you didn't know, and our talk hasn't made it clear, this was the final Sega home console. I forget when it was that like early 2002 when Sega officially went third party? I don't remember the exact
something like that
for that. What do we think about the name Dreamcast? I know that's a random thing, but I'm gonna be honest, I think the Dreamcast is the coolest name for like anything that's ever existed.
Yeah, I think it's really, especially now, I appreciate it so much more now that like just everything is like pretty boring. Like even as much as I love like the Nintendo Switch, like I don't even know how much I love the title of it, you know? Or like or PlayStation is cool or whatever, but it's just 2, 3, 4, 5, you know? Like it's not anything crazy. So I do kind of like that, you know, for better or worse, like, you know, Sega just had some like, this is the Genesis and the Saturn, and like and then we get to Dreamcast, and like I don't even know exactly what it means, but like I'm here for it, you know.
Yeah, especially being like 9 years old back then, I had no idea what Dreamcast was, but I just knew that you could play a 3D Sonic game on it, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Real quick, some other stats. It sold 9.13 million units, which, you know, not great, but also it was only on the market for like 3 or 4 years, so it's, again, not good by any stretch, but also they cut the legs off that thing. It was the first console with any kind of like major focus on online activity. Obviously, I know even like, well, was it the Super Famicom that had like this Teleview stuff going on?
Yeah.
Like, again, don't come at me with some actually. Like, you know what I mean when I say the Dreamcast was like the first console that had like a major focus of being online, and it came with like the modem or whatever, and it had like an internet browser disc that came with it.
Like Phantasy Star on it and whatnot. Like, you know what we mean.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, let's seg into some notable games for it. We had Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, Phantasy Star Online, Crazy Taxi, Space Channel 5, Samba de Amigo, Bomberman Online, Soul Calibur. I think, yeah, Rez was also originally a Dreamcast game. I think I forgot to write that one down.
I think that's right. Yeah. Jet Set
Radio. Yep, Jet Set Radio. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I actually have a lot of memories of the Dreamcast despite not owning one. Did you have any thoughts on the Dreamcast?
I was just going to ask if you owned one. I didn't own one either. So growing up, I don't even know. I do so many podcasts. I don't remember what I mentioned on which podcast anymore. But my childhood friend Justin, he was my best friend for like a lot of my life, and he would get like basically we had like an arrangement where I would always get the Nintendo stuff, and he would get the non-Nintendo stuff. And it wasn't like my first non-Nintendo console was the PS2. Because he was getting the Sega stuff, and he was getting the PS1 and stuff like that. So, yeah, I never owned one myself, but I have a lot of fondness for going over to his house and playing a lot of these games. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. we didn't have like an arrangement or anything, but yeah, my best friend growing up, Jimmy, he got a Dreamcast for Christmas, whatever. That's probably Christmas 2000 would be my guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, the main thing he got was Sonic Adventure. That was like the main thing we were just constantly playing for like a year. We still never got all the emblems or whatever you want to call them. He also got Crazy Taxi and Tony Hawk 2.
Hell yeah.
Which Tony Hawk 2 on Dreamcast was cool. I had the PlayStation 1 version, but yeah, the Dreamcast version was definitely... There were differences. Also, in Tony Hawk 2, the last level is like Skater Heaven or something. It's like a skate park in outer space.
Yeah.
On the PlayStation 1 version, when you fall off, there's like some weird disembodied like God voice that like laughs at you or something. And they removed that from the Dreamcast version. I specifically remember the first time he came over to my house to play Tony Hawk 2 on PS1 as opposed to Dreamcast. He genuinely was very startled at like the disembodied voice telling him what like a bad skater he was. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's like some article buried on the internet from like 15 years ago that would explain why they
hidden truth.
Yeah, why they had to remove that voice. But But yeah, that was mostly where I was playing the Dreamcast, was at my friend Jimmy's house. Another thing that was very funny, I noticed when he got the Dreamcast, he didn't seem that like excited about it, whereas I was like, dude, you got a new system, you got a Dreamcast, this is sick. Found out later, he was too ashamed to tell me this for like a year or two, but he was saying that his mom was in line at like Toys R Us or whatever to get a PS2, and that the lady behind her convinced her that the Dreamcast was the better system, and that his mom then got a Dreamcast, and then he was very upset about it for years. He didn't tell me he got a PS2 not that long after, I think, but that I don't know. I'd like to imagine that lady was a double agent and she was grabbing a PS2 for herself. But at the same time, I also like to imagine she was just a big, like, I believe in the Sega Dreamcast.
She's pushing. She's like handing out like, you know, copies of like Sega magazine or whatever in line.
There was I think it was only in like the Genesis era, but like the Sega equivalent to Nintendo Power's like Sega Dream or something. I inherited my cousin. She had like every issue of that. I had all of them sitting in my closet at my grandma's house for decades. But yeah, those were my main memories of the Dreamcast, is playing them at my friend Jimmy's house. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to the Dreamcast lore?
Not really. It was mostly just like playing it at my friend Justin's house, and I like the most vivid, like Sonic Adventure really is that is the Dreamcast game. I think, but yeah, like we had like, you know, Samba de Amigo and like Power Stone and stuff like that, you know, like that was all that was all huge too, but yeah, it was mostly just, you know, kind of secondhand experience because I never owned one for myself. It's a really cool device though. Like what's that thing called, the little like portable, like, you know, Tamagotchi thing that's in there.
VMU, I think, the
VMU.
Visual memory unit or something.
That's it. Yeah, that thing was cool.
You could send like chows to that thing or whatever in Sonic Adventure, right? Yeah, that was very Nintendo. Like that whole concept was it reminds me of something Nintendo would try and do with like the Wii U or something.
Yeah, it was a neat little system, man. There's a part of me that does kind of wish that like in some alternate reality we still got weird little systems from Sega.
yeah. Even we don't even get like weird games from them anymore. Even like you played the new Samba de Amigo, but I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like it didn't seem as like overtly weird to me as the original Samba de Amigo. Like it's just like, hey, this is like a wacky, you're shaking the Joy-Cons like maracas thing, but like, nah, man, Sega went all in back then. They produced maraca controllers. Like, the new Samba de Amigo is sort of like you know, like a sort of post Just Dance Samba de Amigo, you know, like it doesn't, it's good, like it's fine. I enjoyed it well enough, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And even like the new stuff that they're kicking up, like don't even get me started on the new Jet Set Radio that they're making. Don't get me down that tangent. We'll be here all night, but but yeah, you know, and I'm good. Like I'm looking forward to the new Monkey Ball and stuff like this, but it's not quite the same, you know? Yeah. Next, let's go on to the PS2. This probably doesn't need too much of an introduction, but launched in 2000, it is still the best-selling console of all time, which is kind of alarming. I feel like the signs of like the video game market stagnating have been there for decades, but it's only really coming to roost now. I think 155 million is still the number I see cited in most places, but I think Jim Ryan, right before he retired, he said it was like a little bit higher than that. I don't know.
Drop that bomb on his way out, huh?
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, by the way.
Yeah, actually, you idiots. like I said before, part of that success early on at least was the fact that it was like the cheapest DVD player you could get at the time, which sounds ridiculous in 2024, but I guess like imagine if only like PlayStation 5 was the only device that could play Netflix or something, right? Like
right.
It kind of makes sense because the technology was so new at the time and DVD players were expensive. We actually, my mom owned a DVD player for some reason. I don't know if she got it as like a deal or something, but like, yeah, we owned a DVD player and she watched the Blair Witch Project on that thing like 70 times because that was like one of 3 DVDs we owned. The best-selling game, I didn't realize this, it makes sense, is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas at 17.33 million units sold. I wrote down a whole lot of notable games. I'm just going to rush through them and then we can talk afterwards and you can add any on that I missed. So yeah, we had the Grand Theft Auto trilogy of 3, Vice City, San Andreas. We had the first 2 God of War games. We had Katamari Damacy and We Love Katamari. Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, the Ratchet & Clank series started here. The Jak and Daxter series started here. The Sly Cooper series started here. Okami, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2, and 11 and 12, Dragon Quest 8, Silent Hill 2, 3, 4, Gran Turismo 3 and 4, Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, also series like Devil May Cry, Yakuza, and Monster Hunter all started here, which they are much bigger now than they were back then, but it is still notable that they started there. Less notable for most people that aren't me, I really loved Maximo Ghosts to Glory and Virtua Fighter 4.
I remember Maximo Ghosts to Glory. Yeah, good game. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's funny. I talked about the PS2 a little bit on our episode 0 like mixtape because I talked about Guitar Man, but for me the PS2 represents like my dad got the PS2 from he was in the military at the time, and he got it from a buddy of his who was PCSing, and he bought it off of him, brought it home. He had like Grand Theft Auto 3, Gran Turismo 3, the first Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy 10, like just kind of like a greatest hits of like the early PS2 games. And it totally blew my mind, dude. Like I was pretty stuck on the PS2 for a while. That was like a huge kind of companion for me. That's where I played like a lot of my Tony Hawk games on, NBA Street. Like I played a lot of stuff on PS2.
So yeah, I owned a GameCube and a PS2 this generation, also a Game Boy Advance, but we'll get to that. Honestly, I did most of my multi-platform games on GameCube, specifically stuff like NBA Street, because what was that, Volume 2 or 3 had Mario, Luigi, and Peach in there on the GameCube version. So I liked playing on my GameCube more than PS2 in general, at least when I had the option, but yeah, in terms of like the exclusive games on PS2, like yeah, that thing you still can't really beat it, at least in terms of like the variety and the amount. Like I might prefer like say the Nintendo Switch library overall to the PS2 library, but like still though, like the PS2 library is pretty insane even looking at it. And like that giant list of games I just listed off, like that's still like there were so many more I could have added on, but I'm like, no, I'm just gonna stop this because we're gonna be here all day.
Yeah, well, and isn't it too, I don't know how you feel about this, but for me this is also sort of like the last vestiges of the Sony that I liked.
Yeah,
like I don't even mean necessarily as a company, but I mean just like the sort of like games that they fostered on their platform, like PS3, and I have some fondness for PS3 as well, but PS3 was kind of the beginning of the end for me. As much as I like stuff like Uncharted and The Last of Us as much as the next guy, but like that to me is sort of the death knell of the Sony that I actually enjoyed. Like stuff like Jak and Daxter and like Sly Cooper and stuff like that. Like I will take that any day of the week over Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like the only first party Sony game that has like really hit for me since the PS2 is probably Bloodborne. I'm trying to think of another, and even then that wasn't, that was published by Sony, but it was still mostly a FromSoft thing. You know, it's upsetting to me from the perspective of like, I get it that like The Last of Us and Spider-Man, like these are the mainstream successes and they sell like the tens and 20s of millions of copies. I get it, but like, yeah, why can't we foster smaller games too? And I think for a while Sony was trying. You know, you even see it recently with Sackboy's Big Adventure, which I really quite liked that game.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
It's like a 3D world-esque thing, and yeah, me and my wife platinumed that game, but the whole thing co-opted everything in that game. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, that is the exception. That's not the rule with modern Sony. And yeah, I really, besides Bloodborne, I can't think of any first-party PlayStation game that has like really hit anywhere near the level, even of like the original few Ratchet and Clank games, which I don't even think are like that noteworthy anymore. But back then, yeah, they were cool as hell. I did want to quickly shout out, yeah, I got a GameCube, and we'll talk about GameCube in a second, but I got that at launch in 2001, and as a surprise, I think my mom got me the PS2 for Christmas of 2002. Like, we were not like a super rich or well-off family. We were pretty, I guess, like lower middle class, I guess is what.
Same.
I don't know if that even exists anymore for people to have an idea. So to get like two brand new consoles in back-to-back years, that was pretty big at the time. That felt huge to me. Specifically, I think she saw how excited I was for Kingdom Hearts, and that's why she picked that up for me. So yeah, it would have been a while before I even owned a PS2, except for the allure of Kingdom Hearts. And it's funny that we just keep repeatedly coming back to talk about Kingdom Hearts.
Hell yeah, baby. This is what you get when you do a podcast with me. This is what you get. Yes, I love it. Yeah, we're the Kingdom Hearts episode is going to be legendary when we finally get to it. It's going to be good. It's going to be real good. I'm looking forward to it. We're
saving that for like episode 100. It'll be a few years before we get
that needs to be like the big celebratory episode. We're finally doing Kingdom Hearts, and I know that like you and I both have a lot of shared fondness for Final Fantasy X, which I think is maybe a little uncommon. I feel like there's a little bit of revisionist history now with Final Fantasy X. I feel like people are now kind of coming back around on it. But I've always loved that game. That's still, I think, pound for pound, my favorite Final Fantasy game. And with the most meaning to me anyways. I adore that game. And that's probably, like, when I think of the PS2, Final Fantasy X is probably the game I think of.
Yeah, I got my PS2 with Kingdom Hearts, and then my grandma for Christmas got me Final Fantasy X. So yeah, those are my PS2 games, basically. Yeah, Final Fantasy X, it's definitely my favorite Final Fantasy soundtrack. Like, that's not even up for debate. Like, it is full on the best Final Fantasy soundtrack to me. I think I would have had it as my favorite Final Fantasy until I played 5 last year, and now that has become my favorite. But yeah, I feel like when 10 came out, people loved it, and then like the backlash started, and then yeah, you're right. Now I think that all of us that played it back then are approaching middle age now. We're like, no, actually, it was good all along, kind of thing. Much like the Star Wars prequels happening now, but that's wrong because most of the Star Wars prequels are bad. But let's move on to the Game Boy Advance. This launched in 2001. I didn't realize this stat until I was looking this up. Sold 81.5 million units, which is pretty crazy considering the DS came out like 3.5 years later. Its best-selling game is Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire at 16.22 million units, which that's also insane. That specifically that number, yeah. Some notable games I've written down are anything Pokemon related. There's a whole bunch of Pokemon stuff. You know, Ruby and Sapphire, Emerald, the Gen 1 remakes, Pinball, I'm sure other stuff. Oh yeah, the Mystery Dungeon games started here too. Yeah. Metroid Fusion and Zero Mission, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, WarioWare Inc., Mega Micro Games, the Castlevania trilogy, that being Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, and Aria of Sorrow, the Mega Man Zero and Mega Man Battle Network series, the Sonic Advance series, Minish Cap, again, there were a whole bunch of other games I could have written down. I didn't know if you had any ones you wanted to add on to that list.
Like Astro Boy Omega Factor, Golden Sun. Those were
totally forgot.
Two big GBA games for me. My cousin and I were obsessed with Golden Sun. Like, that was our entire personalities when we were teenagers. Was I can't even express to you how obsessed we were with those two games. GBA is a special console, man. I love that thing. I still one of my favorite video game consoles ever, or handhelds, I guess, whatever. I love it. So I still have a GBA SP. I've got I got a Zelda, that gold Triforce stamped Zelda GBA SP. I got it modded with like a nice like screen and better battery life and stuff. And I still love using that thing to this day.
Yeah, the GBA SP, that was like the first time like I ever really was like, oh, this console is like, this is cool. Like, this thing I'm holding, it's cool. And for those that don't know, the GBA SP was the first revision of the Game Boy Advance, and it was foldable, and it had it was not backlit, it was frontlit, right? Because the first one, it was still pretty dim, if I remember correctly. One of my best friends got a GBA SP right when it came out. It was the first time I've ever been like jealous of someone. In fact, I'm not like a big jealous person, but when he brought that over to my house, I was like, oh my god. I remember playing Sonic Advance, like he was spending the night and he fell asleep. I'm like, okay, I'm grabbing this, and then playing Sonic Advance in the dark on a Game Boy Advance SP. I'm like, this is one of the coolest things that has ever happened. This is the future. Because you also have to remember, flip phones were just coming into the zeitgeist back then. So like, I don't know, I was 12 or 13, I think. So like, too young to own my own phone. But I'm like, I don't know. Girls on the school bus might think I'm pulling out a phone if I pull out my Game Boy Advance SP or something. I love the SP. I think it is, it's still my favorite, like, form factor for any console ever.
It's funny, like, it is smaller than you remember it being when you go back to it now. But the screen is still, like, pretty beautiful. And it also, to me, like, just the fact that I didn't have to get batteries for it. Right. Like, even just that, like, it felt like the world was my oyster. Like, I didn't have to ask my mom to get me batteries anymore. Like, yes, I didn't have to steal them out of the remote anymore, So.
Didn't the SP didn't have a headphone jack, right? I'm remembering that correctly?
No, I don't think it does, no.
Classic Nintendo, we've always got to have one purposefully bad thing about our system.
Yeah.
Did you ever own or play a Micro?
I did not own a Micro, but I have played on a Micro. I've held one and messed around with one, but I never actually owned one myself.
Yeah, I never owned one either. The only time I've ever messed around with one, Wilk got one. I forget if his wife got him the Game Boy Micro and a fan-translated Mother 3 cartridge at the same time, nice. or if it was just the Mother 3 cartridge. But when he got me that, or when he got that, he was showing it to me at his house. Again, not a big jealousy person, but I guess we're just covering all my bases today. Because I was like, oh man, because like
it's cool.
This was years later. This is like way after. Like, I was not interested in the Micro at all when it came out. I'm like, who would want this? Like, I don't know. But in hindsight, I'm like, no, that was for me. I just didn't know it yet.
Right. Yeah, it seems like on paper you would think, like, I can't imagine playing games on that tiny little thing. But I don't know. It's neat. Like, and it was funny because we had like the ultra portability of stuff. I think was kind of important to people back then. You're getting into like your hit clips era and stuff. Right. There's just something about that, I guess. Yeah, I never owned one, but I always kind of wanted one. For me, it was like I was deep into like Game Boy Color, original GBA, and then SP was sort of my bread and butter. But handheld gaming was a massive part of my life back then because I didn't have to, I grew up with a little sister, and most of my consoles I had to share with her. The handheld stuff, though, was just for me. And so that stuff was very, very precious to me. Being able to kind of have my own little world in my pocket that was just mine,
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's also funny you say that, and like, yeah, I did mostly prefer playing on handheld, but I did own a Game Boy player for the GameCube, and so
Oh yeah.
I played like all of Pokemon Ruby and all of Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance like on my TV, which also felt cool. It felt like I was like breaking the rules or something. Like I'm not supposed to be playing this on my TV, but I am.
You're like a hacker. Like you have some
Yeah.
weird like hardware bolted to the bottom of your.
Literally, you had to screw that thing into the bottom of your GameCube.
Yeah.
And then, you had to have, like, the boot disc and stuff. Yeah, I liked the Game Boy player a lot, but...
I love it.
It's also just funny because, like, Harmony of Dissonance. I love Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance, but, like, that soundtrack is very blaring compared to the other two Castlevania games on there. And they made the colors, like, very garish and bright to be able to more easily see on a Game Boy Advance screen. So that coming out of like a big 27-inch Panasonic CRT was just like garbage. But I loved it.
Yeah, what a cool system, dude. I think like for me, I think of like a couple of Nintendo consoles in terms of the way they sort of like capture or render or like the ability. Like when I look at the Super Nintendo and like the things that they were able to do with the Super Nintendo, like when you look at like Super Mario World compared to like Yoshi's Island or like, you know, Dreamland 3 or something like that, like those games all look so different. And I feel like the GBA had like the capability of doing something like that too, where like there was a definite, like you can tell when a game was on the GBA, but they were able to just achieve so much with like sound and graphics on that thing. Just such a great era of Nintendo for me.
Yeah, like this, you know, I love this, again, the Switch era. I love the Wii era also right after this. But
yes.
But yeah, most of my nostalgia for Nintendo is like the GameCube and GBA era, personally. I am glad you brought up the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. You know, that was still going strong at this point in time, but we're not going to spend any massive amount of time on it beyond just mentioning, hey, Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal came out in the early 2000s, and like I think
that
Wario...
was the height for me, dude. Like Pokemon Gold and Silver and Crystal, that was like the height of my Pokemon obsession for sure. Gen 2. Like, I'm not a Gen 1er as they call it, but I guess I am a Gen 2er. Like, I love Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. And that was like the most excited. That was the first time I remember being like really excited for like a video game pre-release. Like, that was when I started buying issues of EGM, or my mom started buying me issues of EGM rather. Because it's like, oh, they have a big cover store on Pokemon Gold and Silver. We got to get this. That was like the first time. I've never really been able to tell this story before. I had an imported Japanese copy of Pokemon Silver back then. Oh, what?
So there's a whole section I want to talk about import shops of this era. There was an import shop near my dad's house, but I had a Japanese copy of Pokemon Silver like the summer before it came out in America. So like, I don't know, 3 months before it came out, something like that. I got all 16 badges in that game, not knowing how to speak any Japanese, and we didn't have internet back then. And even if we did, it wouldn't have helped because who else was playing it and fan translating it back then, at least extensively. Only reason I stopped playing that copy was because the English version came out. And then I got both Gold and Silver for my birthday, and then played through the game another 2 times.
That's hardcore, dude.
Yeah, I have there's a lot of funny things to get into with that, like how I figured out what items were the Pokeballs and stuff. But that said, let's go on a break. We're actually going to play a Game Boy song right now. It is Versus Animal from the Animorphs.
I'm so excited. Yes.
And we'll talk about it after the break because I've never played this game. I had never seen this game until a couple days ago when I watched some footage of it. And it looks interesting, so I'm looking forward to that after the break. that was Versus Animal from Animorphs on Game Boy Color. Seth, please tell me about Animorphs on Game Boy Color.
let me learn y'all a thing or two about Animorphs, okay? I was obsessed with Animorphs when I was a kid. Like the sort of like young adult scholastic, like not Goosebumps, all of that stuff. I was way into it, sort of in the late 90s, early 2000s. And yeah, like, I don't know about you, but for me, the Game Boy Advance, like, I didn't just like dump my Game Boy Color just because I also had a Game Boy Advance. Like, I played them both. And it's funny, I haven't gone back to this game in years, so I'm sure it's not good. But I loved it. When I was a kid, I loved it. And this is effectively like a sort of, way smaller scale, like Pokemon clone. Is basically what this is. And, you play as the kids from Animorphs in these sort of like, chapter structure vignettes, but instead of like catching Pokemon, you're sort of like catching morphs. So like the Versus Animal, this song plays when you're like, rather than like fighting an animal or whatever, you're like sort of capturing the morph of the animal. You're almost like learning its form or something. And when you get into it, it plays this kind of like crunchy, like moody song that has that kind of like warbly, like theremin sounding melody. It kind of sounds alien, I don't know. Like, I love the way that song kind of like builds and layers. It's got like sort of, I don't know if you ever watched the Animorphs television series, the Sean Ashmore TV series. I was obsessed with that too, and so it has this kind of like wailing guitar note in there that comes in at like the 53-second mark that kind of reminded me of the the animated series. And I just love this game. I have so much nostalgia for it. I remember my mom, we would get off of the bus from school, and the bus would drop us off at the library, which was a few blocks away from our house. And oftentimes my mom would say, hey, just like hang out at the library and I'll pick you up like after I get off work. And I remember like having my Game Boy Color and just kind of like sitting on the steps of the library, like playing this game. And it's a very like weirdly formative and nostalgic game for me, even though it's just ultimately a bad Pokemon clone.
Yeah, I had never seen. I don't think I even realized this game existed. If I did, I probably would have wanted it because I loved Animorphs when I was like 10, 11, that time age, or that age of my life. I watched some footage of it, I think from GDQ from a few years ago, and I was not expecting to go into a Pokemon-esque thing. Full on turn-based battles. In the books, I guess the show too, right? The conceit is that like they have to touch the animals to be able to like absorb their DNA to then be able to transform. So it looks like the first level of the game was like taking place in a zoo, and you're running around like grabbing like rats and monkeys and kangaroos to learn their forms and stuff.
Rather than having like a party of Pokemon, you have like a party of like morph forms or something. It's really it's kind of interesting, like low key. If you're gonna do an Animorphs game, like there's probably worse ways of doing it.
Exactly. Like even if this game isn't good anymore, which it didn't look very good, but like it definitely at least was an interesting idea. Like obviously part of it is just going off of the fact of how popular Pokemon and RPGs in general on Game Boy were at the time. That's why like the Mario sports games on Game Boy Color, tennis and golf, they were RPGs because of Pokemon. Like that's just straight up what it is. So like, even though this game is trying to ape some of Pokemon's style or whatever, it's a good idea, regardless of execution. Like there was actual thought put into like, we can just have you grab different morphs to form your party. Like that's a good idea. I think it's cool.
It's kind of neat. Yeah.
Licensed games back then just had, due to like hardware limitations, they just had to be more creative with stuff, both like presentation wise and design wise. I don't want to stick on it for longer than a couple seconds, but like I love Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets on Game Boy Color. Yeah, they're full on turn-based RPGs with but in a Harry Potter setting. Like, that's cool. I'd much rather have that than like big open world Harry Potter whatever nonsense.
I agree.
I loved licensed games from back then. I just, a nice thing nowadays is like emulation is so easy. You can even do it on your phone and stuff. Like, hey, if you've ever wanted to check out Animorphs, or maybe now you do after hearing this, you can easily do it. I might even download Animorphs on my iPhone later. I don't know.
Get that rolling on the old Delta and see how that bad boy holds up. Did you see in the All In Discord, Sparky recently was sharing like photos from his like Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. I don't know if it was on GBA or DS. I think it was DS.
I think DS.
And, and like I love it. Like, yeah, because in that era they kind of had to figure it out. Like, what does an Animorphs game look like? Well, it might as well look like a Pokemon game. Right? And I don't know. Like to me, that was like, when you're talking about like early 2000s, that was like the perfect cross section of my interests. Hey, you're obsessed with Animorphs, you're obsessed with Pokemon, so like here is this thing. I loved it. Like I again, I'm sure it doesn't hold up. I kind of don't want to go back and replay it. I kind of want to keep it precious in my memories. But it's also just a good excuse. Like, I don't know how many people listening to the show were even aware that this was a thing. But like I just ate up everything Animorphs back then. Low key, that book series is crazy.
Yes, it is. It is straight up crazy.
Wild. It is really wild, and I definitely should not have been reading some of the stuff I was reading at the age that I was reading it, because Animorphs gets into some like really wild and scary territory.
Like not even like, obviously there's some of the obvious things like body horror and like transformation stuff. Like I remember a character like getting stuck halfway between like human and like cockroach form or something.
Yeah.
And like obviously Tobias was stuck in like
everybody
his hawk
remembers
form.
Tobias. Yeah.
But yeah, what you might not remember is that like they meet an alien god that lets Tobias morph again, but he introduces Tobias to like a past human version of himself that he's able to absorb the DNA from, so he can anamorph back into his normal form, but only for 2 hours unless he wants to stay permanently human again. But then he won't be able to be an anamorpher again. If that sounds confusing, I hope it is. I don't really want you to understand that thought. Also, like the end of the series is like terribly sad and like nothing good happens at all.
Yeah, the kids are scarred. Like there's something about like kids who are burdened with purpose, that I've like always gravitated towards. Like it reminds me of like Earthbound or something, where like these kids have to deal with like they're just burdened with like having to save the world from like eldritch horror, and like at a certain point they like go back in time to try to like kill Hitler and stuff, and
okay, I don't remember that.
It's crazy. Everybody remembers Tobias. Like Tobias like tries to kill himself, like it's wild. Like some of the stuff, like as a hawk, like I remember reading he'd like just fling himself and like fly into windows and things. Like it's like, man, I probably shouldn't be reading this. This is like pretty dark.
I remember like the very end of the series, like basically they like multiple of them die in the last book, and then like at the end, like the surviving ones, or at least Jake, maybe he's like out in space, and then like he dies in like a warship explosion or something. Like it's
Jake dies. Yeah,
like it's like, and again, these are, I think the reason we're kind of way off the rails at this point, but like I think it's a good message to like hammer home to kids, even though you might not like it, that like, hey, yeah, war is pointless and bad. Like that sounds obvious, right. and yet we are witnessing a genocide in Palestine as we speak. I literally just saw a video this morning of they were the Israel Defense Force had like kids like stomping on like aid supplies for Palestinians. Like, like, hey, maybe you should read Animorphs. I don't know. You'd have learned.
I love this podcast so much. I am so happy. There is no other podcast on planet Earth that will relate Animorphs to the ongoing genocide in Palestine. Yeah, I could not agree more. It definitely had that kind of like underlying message to it. And it also gave like, I think kids reading it a certain sense of like, power fantasy, but in a different sense. Like you read something like Harry Potter and you're like, oh, I could be a wizard teen, or whatever in this like mystical world. But you read Animorphs and it's like, man, like I kind of don't want this.
Yeah. I know what you like, because like also they're dealing with like the alien slugs that are like taking over people's minds, so that like you don't know who is.
It's like body snatcher stuff.
Yeah. It was a sad series.
I love Animorphs so goddamn much, dude. I love that. I love Animorphs so much.
Speaking of things you love, do you want to talk about the Xbox now?
Yeah, okay, so this is exciting. So I was happy to bring this because I knew that you were going to kind of cover a lot of the sort of Nintendo base. I know that you do not have a lot of like original Xbox nostalgia. So I am thrilled to bring the original Xbox. Is probably like in my top 3 favorite consoles of all time. Yeah. I love this thing.
I knew you loved it. I don't think I realized you loved it that much. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, this launched in late 2001 in the US and early 2002 everywhere else. It sold around 24 million units.
Imagine 200 million units.
Microsoft would be thrilled. I imagine anyone would be thrilled with that.
They can't do that now.
Yeah, they can't sell 20 million units apparently. This is the first home console from Microsoft. This is their entry into that space, which real weird time back then, because also 2001, like I said earlier, Paper Mario on the N64 is what got me paying more attention to video games at large. Like, I started buying game magazines after that because I'm like, I just want more video games that make me feel like Paper Mario did.
Yeah.
And that was when I found out, like, oh, Nintendo has a new console coming out this year. Oh, also this Xbox thing. It was a weird time in the industry. And then, Sega dropped out of the race around this time too. Yeah, it was a weird time back then. The best-selling game is Halo 2 at 8.46 million units, which, again, that makes sense. There are no surprises, really, for most of these best-selling games. Some other notable games I wrote down. Of course, the most obvious one is Phantom Dust.
Of course, yeah.
And then we have Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, Jet Set Radio Future, Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, Otogi, which I don't even know if that's notable, but I always wanted to play it. It always looked cool to me.
Yeah.
Otogi, I don't know how to pronounce it. You had the Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden Black, the reboot of the Ninja Gaiden series. Fable, Forza Motorsport started here, Jade Empire, Psychonauts, Splinter Cell, Conquer Live and Reloaded, and Fusion Frenzy. I almost forgot Fusion Frenzy.
Oh yeah, can't forget Fusion Frenzy, the game that everybody played, because it was like a Halo pack-in or something like that, if I remember right.
Yeah, I knew a lot of kids like in my grade that owned Xboxes. I was actually one of the only ones at my school that owned a GameCube, and even a lot of my friends that owned GameCubes also owned at least one other system, I guess including me. But yeah, I remember a lot of kids were talking about Fusion Frenzy, and for like a couple weeks I'm like, do I need to get on this? Like, is this FOMO? Am I missing out on Fusion Frenzy? Fear of missing out on Fusion Frenzy? No, I did play it eventually years later. I'm like, no, this sucks.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a whatever, like Mario Party, clone sort of thing. Yeah.
I guess I'll just go real quick and just say my memories of the Xbox, which again is mostly playing it at my best friend Jimmy's house at the time. Even then, we only really played like Halo 1 and 2, especially 2 because of Xbox Live. Honestly, I'm struggling to think of like basically any other Xbox games that he even owned. I did play the original Splinter Cell over at his house. We rented it to play on Xbox, and I quite liked that game at the time.
Oh yeah,
it was pretty cool. But yeah, honestly, most of my memories, it's just playing Halo 2 like for an entire summer in his basement, and just like meeting weird other kids across the country on Xbox Live. That was when, hard to believe now, but like people actually liked getting on voice chat back then. It sounds very strange nowadays, but yeah, like it genuinely was like something I looked forward to. You would still get people being racist and stuff occasionally, but it was way less common back then. But yeah, that's most of my memories with Xbox. The original Xbox revolves around Halo 2, so I will let you go ahead and go on your Xbox love letter.
Sure. Well, and we'll talk more specifically about Halo 2 a little bit later. So I'll save a little bit of the Halo 2 chat for that, because
also,
Halo 2, dude.
Save some Phantom Dust talk for later too. I gave you a whole segment to go off about Phantom Dust.
Yes, I'll save Phantom Dust and Halo 2 for later. And I also didn't want to I talked so much about Jet Set Radio Future in episode 0 as well. I mean, these are just formative games for me. But I played so much original Xbox. I got that for Christmas. It must have been Christmas 2002, I guess. And I wanted one so badly because of Halo, just like everybody did. That was definitely like the sort of killer app. But it felt cool. Like it felt like it was like from the future or something. It's this big, heavy console with this big stupid controller, and it didn't have a start and select button. It had a black and white button, it's just dumb stuff like that. And I just remember being so even when you boot up the console, it has one of my favorite system boot up screens.
It's got green goo or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like an amorphous ball of green magma, sort of bubbling over and shifting and eventually kind of cracking the crust of the earth with a green X. It's just so damn cool. I love it. And even the home menu, which this may have, PS2 also kind of had a home menu screen. But original Xboxes, it looked like the control panel of the, what's the ship from the Matrix, the Nebuchadnezzar or whatever? It looked like the control panel. It's these things held together with machinery and wire and stuff. You felt like you were actually looking into the innards of your Xbox. It was so neat. You could take, because it actually had internal memory, had an internal hard drive, you could put in your CDs and rip them to your original Xbox, and you could just play that music while you were playing the games. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, that really was next level back then. I was very excited about that.
So I would rip my Blink 182 or Yellow Card CDs or whatever. I remember ripping the Spider-Man 2 movie soundtrack CD onto my original Xbox.
Hold on. We're going to talk about CDs in general later too, but that's very funny that you also own the Spider-Man movie soundtracks, because I also did.
I loved it. I loved it. Yeah, it's got Vindicated by Dashboard Confessional on there.
Dude, okay, in 6th grade, or somewhere between 6th grade and 7th grade, I completely flipped my sleep schedule. I was getting up at 8 p.m. and staying up till 10 a.m. or something. Because, I'm just a dirtbag, 12-year-old, no other reason. And I remember listening to the Spider-Man movie soundtrack, 5 in the morning, on my portable CD player while playing Mario 64. For whatever reason, that's what I was doing that summer. I was trying to get 120 stars in Mario 64 while listening to the Spider-Man motion picture soundtrack, which, that's bad.
Oh, it's so good. I loved that. I wore that CD out, dude. It's got that, speaking of Yellow Card, it's got Gifts and Curses by Yellow Card on there, which I think is maybe their most underrated song. You got Train on there, Hoobastank. Oh, hell yeah. Taking Back Sundays on there. There may be no quintessential mid-2000s, early 2000s piece of music collection than that to me. I absolutely loved it. And I was also at that time getting OXM, like official Xbox magazine, and playing like the demo discs. And that's how I discovered like some of my favorite, kind of weird or underrated original Xbox games like Breakdown. I discovered that because of OXM. And like weird stuff like Armed and Dangerous and like Drake of the 99 Dragons and like just all this crap that like nobody talks about or has ever heard of anymore. It felt cool. Like it felt very like, I don't know, like that truly felt next gen in quotes to me back then, and then yeah, like you talk about Xbox Live and Halo 2, like forget about it. Like playing Phantom Dust online and Halo 2 online, like that is a precious console. That is peak like Pizza Hut and Mountain Dew, like, spending entire weekends playing Halo 2 with friends. I mean, entire damn weekends.
Yeah. It's not an exaggeration. Like summer of like 2005, I think. It was literally like the entire summer we were in my friend's basement playing Halo 2. That's like all we did. Like literally all we did. I remember one time, like, we didn't leave the basement for like, I don't know, bordering on a week, and we like went out to go like walk to a gas station or something, and like the world just felt different. It's like we'd seen things, and then we I don't know, it's like going to war and then you come home and like things just aren't the same anymore. It was messed up, man, actually looking back on it. But
you blink into the sun and your eyes have to adjust to like the world around you. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I mean, I remember when KOTOR came out, I was so excited for that game. I remember getting it, and I came down with scarlet fever, which is like a crazy like 1800s illness.
I was about to ask, I thought we took care of that.
Yeah, I got scarlet fever for some reason, and like they took me to the doctor, and they're like, what, like it took them like a while to figure out what it even was because it was so odd. And I came down with it, and I remember they had to, for some reason, it was like related to my tonsils. They had to remove my tonsils, and so my memory is just like playing KOTOR on the original Xbox, being out of school for the week, and like being in recovery, just laying in bed, eating ice cream, and doing nothing but playing KOTOR for like a straight week. So yeah, I talked about Jet Set Radio Future. Like I probably put hundreds of hours into that game, just literally, doing the same line on the GG's Garage that I can still do with my eyes closed. Yeah, just a special. I love that console so much.
Yeah, that's cool. I knew you liked it a lot, but yeah, I did not realize it was to that level. So that I'm glad we took some time out to talk about each of these consoles in a dedicated space this episode. Then that's good. You want to move on to the GameCube then?
Oh yeah, there's plenty to say about the GameCube.
Launched in late 2001 in Japan and US, and then early 2002 elsewhere. It was the last time Nintendo was in like the hardware arms race, as some goobers might put it. The GameCube was a powerful little thing for the time. Like great form factor, but also that was putting out some graphics that were like definitely markedly improved over PS2. This is actually the first console I ever got on launch day. I got it for my 12th birthday. I think it came out a few days after my 12th birthday. It sold 21.74 million units, which is that's too low of a number. I'm just going to say that.
I agree.
Best-selling game is Super Smash Bros. Melee at 7.09 million. I'm just going to shout out a bunch of games here. Luigi's Mansion, Monkey Ball 1 and 2, Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 and 3, again Melee, Eternal Darkness, Resident Evil Remake, Resident Evil 4, Mario Sunshine, Metroid Prime 1 and 2, Zelda The Wind Waker, also Twilight Princess, Animal Crossing, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, the best version of Soul Calibur 2, of course.
Amen.
Beautiful Joe 1 and 2, Kirby's Air Ride, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, and Zelda Four Swords Adventures. Again, could have put like 10 more games on there easily, but I wanted to make sure we weren't here all day, and also to give you space to add anything that you might have wanted to touch on.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, there's so many greats. I want to specifically shout out the Monkey Ball games because that those were the first games that I actually kind of like got my family involved in. Like the Monkey Ball is weirdly like important to my family. Like I remember Monkey Ball 2 specifically, but also Monkey Ball 1. I got Super Monkey Ball 2 like used at GameStop. Like I don't even know how long after it came out. But I remember getting that and like. It became like it gave it like this kind of arena quality. Like my family loved watching me play it, and there was something about it. Like I remember like my mom and my stepdad and like my little sister like watching me play Monkey Ball, and like we'd pass the controller around and try to like beat some of the harder levels and like, you know, get crazy times, and then of course like multiplayer stuff. And then like, yeah, like Monkey Ball kind of became a thing for a little while. Like it's definitely one of my most played GameCube games for that reason. Like my family, we would just bust that out. Like Thanksgiving, like Monkey Ball 2 would be on the TV, you know? Very, very precious memories with the GameCube. And I mean, yeah, all the games you shouted out are fantastic.
Yeah, Monkey Ball, it's funny that we always just keep coming back to Monkey Ball, but like, yeah, to me, kind of the defining games of the GameCube in a lot of ways. Not just because I like them so much, but because they really embody everything I like about video games, like the arcadey nature of them. I'm so glad you mentioned like the audience nature of it and like passing a controller around. Some of my favorite gaming memories of all time are just playing single player games, but in a group setting and just taking turns, like taking lives. Passing. Love it. Yeah, I absolutely love it. That's how I played like all the Punch-Out games. When I was real little, that's how I played like the Mario and Donkey Kong Country games with my mom. I love Monkey Ball 1 and 2. That remake from a few years ago, they messed up the mini games, but overall, I quite love what they did with.
It was good enough.
Yeah. They did a good enough job with the arcade modes and the campaign mode or whatever. Yeah, just a blast. I will shout out, I'm not usually the Star Wars guy here, but Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader.
Excellent.
Yeah, awesome. Like, I wouldn't call it a flight sim because it's way more arcadey than that, but like, for lack of a better term, my uncle, who's a big Star Wars dork, he came over to my grandma's house one night and I was playing it, and he was like, "What is this?" And he was like, "I have to go buy a GameCube now just for this," because like it's hard to like exaggerate like just how advanced the graphics on this thing on that specific game were compared to like the N64 from just a couple years prior. Like, you play Rogue Squadron on the N64 and compare that to Rogue Leader on GameCube, and it is like night and day. Is not doing it enough of justice. Like, it is, I don't know, it's like you went from like low poly N64 graphics to like, oh, this looks like real, at least at the time. I haven't looked at the game in years. I'm sure
it still looks pretty damn good.
I figured it would still look pretty good. It plays to a lot of strengths of like systems, game consoles back then, where like so much of it's in outer space for the most part, so like you're not having to render a lot of geometry. Again, there are some levels that take place like on planets, but just stunning. Also just really fun. Again, haven't played it in like nearly 20 years at this point probably. I would love to go back and revisit it at some point. Hey, maybe they should, I'm not saying they will, but it would be nice if they ported that over to something someday eventually.
That'd be nice. I'm a little surprised they haven't done it already. They're porting so many Star Wars games. There's like Aspire ports.
Right. I always wondered like how those happened. Like, I know Factor 5, like they're not around anymore, but they are under like a different name and subsidiary or something. Yeah. It's a shame what happened to them. Hitching their wagon to what was that, Lair or whatever, that PS3 Dragon game.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, that sucked. That sucked what happened to them, because Rogue Squadron 2 is awesome. Even 3, I liked 3 for what it was. The on-foot sections weren't very good, but like overall. Also, in Rogue Squadron 3, they just like put all of Rogue Squadron 2 in there with co-op. Like, there's like, hey, you can just have this. Okay, that's cool. We won't spend too much time on like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. We might be covering that more in depth at some point pretty soon here.
Oh, I'm sure.
But yeah, Melee is a big one for me. Melee,
Of course.
that is the GameCube to me. Besides Monkey Ball, like Monkey Ball 1, 2, and Melee. Those are the games I spent the most time with. I will say Soul Calibur 2. That was like the most hyped I'd ever been for a fighting game up to that point. I never really. That's the only non-Smash Bros. Fighting game I've ever put like dedicated time into. Like me and a couple friends all got it that summer it came out. That was like all we did for months was Soul Calibur 2 stuff. And again, really bummed out when they made it an HD remaster of Soul Calibur 2. They only did the Xbox and PlayStation versions, and the Wii U at the time did not get a port because so Link is just gone. Yeah. He just doesn't exist anymore, basically.
That sucks. Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, it's the GameCube is great, man. I love the form factor of it. I loved like the tiny little discs. I still really like the controller. You know, I know people make fun of the controller, but I still really like it.
Still like the best like form-fitting controller to my hands, at least controller that I've ever held. It's awesome.
I still have a working Wavebird controller, and like it is still one of my favorite controllers, like full stop. I love it. I love like the texture of like the C-stick on that controller. Like I love the way that feels under your thumb. It's kind of soft. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know, there's something to it. I like the sort of like loud clicky, triggers and stuff. I don't know. I just loved that. And like, yeah, I mean, the cool thing about the GameCube is it really did accentuate like a lot of things. You already mentioned that the GameCube is kind of like the last time Nintendo cared to be sort of like contemporary to their competition in terms of like power. But also like the fact that you had strong multiplayer experiences, competitive multiplayer experiences like Smash. You had like these strong, sort of single player offerings like your Marios, like your Zeldas and Animal Crossing and stuff, but like you still had plenty of that just kind of like weird junk like Eternal Darkness and even Luigi's Mansion. Like I know Luigi's Mansion is kind of like commonplace now, but like that's a weird that was a weird kind of prospect when that game came out.
Especially that first game. Like it's a weird, like the first game is way more of Nintendo's take on like Resident Evil 1 than like
totally
what 2 and 3 are. Like 2 and 3 are just kind of like, hey, we're spooky little fun child-friendly horror games, right? But like, yeah, the first Luigi's Mansion is like, there's some like complexity to how you navigate that mansion. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They're just so, and then yeah, I mean, like everybody knows Metroid Prime now, but like, Metroid Prime, that first Metroid Prime game in particular, like what that was a mind-blowing game when I first played that.
Yeah, that it blew me away at the time. My friend Jimmy and I, the one I keep mentioning, his neighbors sold his family their Super Nintendo and everything that they didn't need anymore, and it was just basically a bunch of garbage, like fishing games and Jeopardy on Super Nintendo, but then also just a copy of Super Metroid just in there. So to get ready for Metroid Prime, we spent like a whole summer slowly working through Super Metroid. Going from Super Metroid to then playing Metroid Prime later that year, that was, at the time, that was insane. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that game running for the first time. Like 60 frames and everything, man. They don't make games like that anymore, honestly. I know that makes me sound like an old man, but they really don't.
They don't make them like they used to.
I just realized I didn't mention Pikmin 1 and 2 in the notes. That's my bad, because I love Pikmin 1 in particular.
Oh, sure.
The atmosphere of that game is just incredible. But anyway, we'll get off that real quick. I do want to very quickly and not spend much time on these at all, considering, their place in the decade and also that we're already running so long. But the Nintendo DS and the PlayStation Portable, or PSP, they did both come out in 2004, at least in one territory each. So I just wanted to quickly mention those. So the Nintendo DS launched in late 2004 in Japan and the US, early 2005 elsewhere. It was originally touted as the third pillar, as in Nintendo would support the GameCube, the Game Boy Advance, and the DS all at once, and that obviously did not happen. The only really notable launch games that I remember were Super Mario 64 DS and Feel the Magic. XYXX.
I'm so glad you're shouting this out. Yes.
I owned, or maybe it's XXXY, I don't remember. But anyway, I owned both those games. I got them both on launch day, and I quite liked them. Feel the Magic, it was from Sega. It kind of felt like WarioWare, but with less variety and with more of a story in place. It's all about like this dude, and he's trying to woo his love interest, and then she keeps getting kidnapped by a dude with like a mohawk. It's a very weird and silly game. But did you have any specific thoughts on him?
Yeah, no, I got the DS on launch day. I remember that one pretty vividly. Like DS and Wii were both like launch day affairs for me. And I remember Mario 64 DS is a very weird game.
Yes, it is.
And it's when you look at like launch titles for the DS, it's wild that these are both like launch titles. Like it kind of, I think, sets the stage for kind of what I love about the DS in general. And I know that we don't need to spend a ton of time on it because of its sort of placement. But like, man, I love that something like Feel the Magic is there on launch day. I love that something like Mario 64 DS, you could make the argument that it isn't good, but I still love just how janky and kind of dumb, and like it's like Nintendo made a fan mod of like their own game.
Yeah, it's like a ROM hack of Mario 64 that honestly I think is the only real issue with it is trying to control it with a D-pad or the touchscreen. I think if it had an analog stick, if the DS had a traditional or a circle pad like the 3DS had, I think it would have been actually pretty awesome. What little new content in actual Mario 64 there was, it was okay for what it was. You could play as Luigi and Yoshi and Wario now, and that was kind of neat. Like, you'd never seen Yoshi in a 3D game like that before. That was interesting. Also, the mini games in Mario 64 DS, and a lot of them got reused later in New Super Mario Brothers, but those were awesome. Those were fantastic. We played a lot of the multiplayer mini games, or maybe the multiplayer didn't come till New Super Mario Brothers. I think maybe they were all just single player in the 64 DS, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, that might be true. Although they might have done like, I struggle to remember it now. If it did have like local multiplayer stuff, I definitely didn't play with that. Maybe it made use of that like download play stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I know New Super Mario Brothers did, and like I think all of the mini games in 64 DS were only single player, and then they made them multiplayer for New Super Mario Brothers, and that definitely had the download play thing. Also, I think there was also another game where you could have like 4 players running around in Mario 64, and you each were a different character in some kind of battle mode or something, but I literally never played it, so it's just a weird kind of worse version of Mario 64, but with bad controls, but also more content, kind of. Like, that's about it.
I can't help but like kind of love it for what it is. Like looking back at it, I'm just kind of like Nintendo today, I don't think would necessarily do something like that.
No, it reeks of like, hey, we need a big launch game. All right, let's just take the Mario 64, I guess.
Yeah, and like let's just do like some, like if they were to do that today, like I remember when Mario Odyssey came out, everybody's like, just remake Mario 64 and the Mario Odyssey engine or whatever, and like that feels way more in line of what like a Nintendo in 2024 would do now. Back then it's like, oh yeah, like, hey, sure, like it almost feels reactionary, like they're almost banking on they're banking on you having nostalgia and like memories of Mario 64, because it's like, hey, yeah, we're gonna like open on Yoshi in the castle, you know.
Yeah, and again, I think the DS wouldn't have come out when it did. The whole reason the GBA lifespan was cut so short was because the looming threat of the PSP, and I think Nintendo it was a weirdly reactionary move from Nintendo of like, okay, we were already working on this, let's get this out now, because there weren't that many games available for it for quite a while, much like a lot of Nintendo consoles of that time. It wasn't until Kirby Canvas Curse the following summer that like I really it started feeling like the DS is like a legitimate like thing. But anyway, that's getting too in the weeds for the scope of this episode.
There will be time for DS in future episodes, I'm sure.
Yes, hey, I want to do a Kirby Canvas Curse episode specifically. That would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Lastly, real quick, let's talk about the PlayStation Portable that launched in late 2004 in Japan, early 2005 everywhere else. This was PlayStation's first entry into the handheld market. I remember this quote. I don't have the exact verbatim quote, but someone at Sony said something about the PSP was going to raise us out of the handheld gaming ghetto, which is very problematic and bad. So it's
Jesus.
I don't know that it did that, but hey, you know what? The PSP did have some cool stuff. I never owned one. Actually, you know what? I did own one like 15 years later. I bought it just to play Mega Man Powered Up, that remake of Mega Man.
Oh yeah.
But in terms of launch games, the only notable ones I had written down were Luminous, Puzzle Fusion, which that was like the PSP game. Like I feel like everyone owned that. Real cool game. And then Ridge Racer 2004. My friend Jimmy, he bought Luminous and Ridge Racer. Those were, I think, the only two games he ever owned for it because I don't know, he just wasn't that interested, but he wanted the hardware, I guess. Also, most notable is the PSP launched the media format, the UMD, or I think Universal Media Disc or something like that.
I think that's right.
And in America, the early PSPs came packaged with Spider-Man 2 on UMD. So it's also very funny that we keep talking about Spider-Man 2 this episode.
Spider-Man 2 episode.
But yeah, the main memory I have of playing Jimmy's PSP is he was a big technology guy. That's why he owned all this hardware, but he didn't often play that much. Like he just liked the actual hardware stuff, I think. Like he had a mini disc player. I don't know if anyone knows what a mini disc player is.
Sure.
But he was very adamant that this was way better than MP3. And I don't doubt that like a mini disc player from like a sound perspective and whatever is better than an MP3 player. But it's very obvious to see in hindsight why MP3 players won that hardware war, as it were. Anyway, he was so excited about the PSP that he set up... He wanted us to watch Spider-Man 2 on UMD, but it's a handheld. And also we were in his room that had a DVD player in it, and we also owned Spider-Man 2. But he was adamant, like, no, we have to watch this on UMD. This is new. I want to watch this on my PSP. And so he did this thing. He rigged the setup of like duct taping. He had some kind of case around the PSP, duct taped the case, holding the PSP to like a shelf above us, and then we sat squished together at his computer desk and watched Spider-Man 2 on UMD. He was very excited about that. You know what? I very vividly remember all of this, so hey, it was a lasting memory, if nothing else.
Yeah, I remember the PSP. My cousin my cousin and I both each had a PSP when it came out, and I remember he had this case that like it's express purpose. Like you could store your PSP in it, but it had like speakers that you could connect it to.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, like inside the case, you would open it up. It's like a zip case. Not unlike something you would hold like your CDs in or something like that. And you would open it up and it could kind of like stand on its own, and the PSP would sort of nestle in between these two speakers, and I'm sure they were like tinny and bad at the time, but like it was so that you could put UMDs in there and like watch it with like actual, volume and stuff. It was kind of neat. Yeah, the thing the PSP I feel like was known for, mostly, at least in America, was UMDs, movies on UMD. You would probably know this better than I would, but I remember going into GameStop around this era, and the PSP section was basically just UMDs. I barely mostly
ever saw
UMDs.
Basically didn't see games. It was mostly just like American Pie 2 on UMD.
I was working at GameStop when the PSP was still relevant, and I remember people would come in and trade in like their PSPs and like their banged up UMDs that just like something about the UMD, like something about that format, like that thing, it was so easy for people. Like you drop it once and it just like splits open.
Yeah.
Like the like the case of it splits open in half, and like, cool, I guess this just isn't playable anymore. It feels like it shouldn't even work at all. Like it feels like weird and mechanical, and like it spins a little disc inside of a plastic case.
Like handhelds with spinning motors going on. Like, no, let's not do this. Like there's a reason why like the Vita and the Switch and the 3DS all use cartridges still, despite the fact that they came after the PSP.
I loved the PSP Go was my favorite PSP because it just removed all of that, just like straight digital, and like the form factor was so cool. The way it like slid open and revealed like the controls, and I loved that thing.
Yeah, Wilk had a PSP Go. I remember playing like the demo or something for Peace Walker on it. I'm like, wow, this is actually really sick. I kind of forgot about the PSP Go until you said that. That was a really cool. Again, it's funny that the Game Boy Advance SP was relevant when flip phones were relevant, and then the PSP Go was relevant for like that very small window where like sliding phones were a thing, right?
It was so cool, so sleek.
Originally in the notes I had written down here our overall thoughts on this era of games, but we kind of did that already piecemeal. Not to mention it's been a while since a break, so let's just go ahead and take a break. We're gonna listen to Peril from Halo 2, and when we come back we're gonna talk about some Halo 2 specific memories. I think.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
Yes.
And that was Peril from Halo 2. Right off the bat, I played so much Halo 2, but basically none of the campaign. I'm assuming this is a campaign thing, so I don't remember this at all.
Yeah. You never played Halo 2's campaign?
I did, but I don't remember like any of it.
Oh, wow.
So like, yeah, I played through Halo 1 or Halo CE and 2, the campaign like once. So I just don't, and again, never owned an Xbox or anything, so it wasn't something that like stuck with me the same way like PS2 or GameCube games did. Yeah, I didn't remember this at all. I was really shocked. Really shocked how like Enya-ish this was.
Oh my god, it's so funny you say that. My first note about this song is, my favorite Halo music sounds like the cross-section of Enya, Genesis, and church choir music.
Okay, yeah.
Literally, Enya is in my first note of this song.
Oh yeah, it was the very first thing I'd written down also.
I love Enya. I'm a huge Enya fan.
Yeah, I also love Enya, which is funny because I feel like, okay, so I don't know if this is how other people's like parents or grandparents worked when it came to like music in the car. My grandma, in her car or cars over the years, she only ever owned like, I'm saying like less than 8 CDs, and she would just every like month cycle between one of these like 8 CDs. One of them was an Enya CD. I couldn't tell you what one. It was probably a late 90s Enya CD, because I have very specific memories of riding in the back seat of her car as we were driving from Wisconsin to Ohio to visit family one Christmas. And the entire like 7-hour trip there and the entire 7-hour trip back, it was just Enya. And, you know, as like an 8-year-old kid, I feel like even as an adult, that would kind of be nutty to deal with that for 14 hours. But she didn't seem to mind. I don't know if she didn't go batty. Yeah, I was also, I was listening to this song. Again, we're going real off the rails here, but I was thinking about the other song or the other CDs that she had in her car for basically my entire life. And it was like Elton John Greatest Hits, which obviously, because it's the best Elton John songs, it's the greatest hits. Of course, we're going to go with that.
Of course.
She had the Notting Hill soundtrack. She had the Matchstick Men soundtrack, I specifically remember. And funny enough, I think the Enya CD got discontinued in her car after 9/11. I think she got sick of hearing that one Enya song, and she just stopped. We didn't listen to the Enya CD anymore.
Yeah, that got worked out of the rotation, huh? Yeah, I had a similar experience. My mom, like, the rotation was, it was Enya, Alanis Morissette, who I also love. A lot of like my music taste came from my mom, who I mentioned on episode 0. She worked in radio for many years. So yeah, it was Enya, it was Alanis, it was like Blues Traveler, who I also love. It was like Beck, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, but yeah, man, this song definitely has a lot of Enya vibes. I love the kind of like the plucky strings of that like main melody. Like it has the feeling, it feels epic and important, but it's also like kind of hopeful at the same time and like kind of whimsical to it. One thing that people might remember, a lot of people listening to this are probably at least somewhat familiar with Halo 2. Halo 2, and I love the soundtrack of Halo 2. It's my favorite Halo game by a mile. Like, it is way, way, way better than any other Halo game for me. But they Marty O'Donnell, who's the main composer of the Bungie Halo games anyway, he brought in Michael Salvatore for that soundtrack. And so there's a lot of like sort of like hard rock electric guitar in a lot of the soundtrack. And don't get me wrong, it's cool and it makes perfect sense for Halo 2. Like, the second you boot up the game and the classic Halo music all of a sudden has like electric guitar to it. Like, the second you're like, okay, I am so here. But like, Peril is one of the few songs on the soundtrack that feels like classic Halo music. So yeah, it's my favorite song on the entire OST.
Yeah, no, like I said, I didn't remember this at all. Like, when you linked a Halo song, this is not what I was expecting. But it reminds me that, like, yeah, Halo was just operating on a different level in this decade.
Yeah.
I don't, like, when did ODST come out? That was like 2009 or something like that.
09 sounds right. Yeah.
Like, that soundtrack is insane. It's like somber
incredible
jazz stuff going
Yes.
on. Like,
Yes, I love that soundtrack. That's my second favorite Halo game.
Yeah, and I never even played ODST, but yeah, I've listened to that soundtrack. It's awesome. I miss Halo as being like a part of gaming culture. Like I haven't heard anyone talk about anything Halo related basically since Reach. Like
it all sucks now.
Yeah.
It's all bad now. It's all stupid. Like they, like it's the thing about like Halo 2 was such a moment in time. Like, dude, I played. There's probably like 5 games that I've played more than any other game. Like I already mentioned, Kingdom Hearts 1, World of Warcraft, and like probably Halo 2 is those are probably the 3 games that I've put the most time in my life. I used to be part of a Halo 2 clan with a lot of my friends locally. My friend Tyler was our clan leader, and we the whole thing about it was it was big because this is the early to mid 2000s. We're all like way into Star Wars at this time, so all of our handles had Darth in front of it. And so my first ever Xbox Live handle, brace yourself for this, because also I was a teenager, so I was very into like random humor, so my first handle on Halo 2 was Darth Cupcake.
Okay.
And so my like you could customize like your emblem and your player armor and stuff, so mine was like pink, and everybody online thought I was a girl until I started talking. So I mean, like we played so much of this game. I'm not kidding you. Like on the weekends we would literally have like we would call it like clan practice or something, where we would just do LAN parties with like 16 people at my friend Tyler's house. He had a massive house, still one of the biggest houses. I think his dad was like, because he lived on the military base that I live pretty close to, and I think his dad was like high up in the military or something. They had still one of the nicest houses I've ever been in. And so we would have just like 16 teenage boys like in his basement with Xboxes linked up, playing Halo on these massive TVs they had, like just eating pizza, like just all weekend. Like I'm not kidding. We would play 16 hours a day, sleep for like 3 or 4 hours, wake up and play more. Like it was insane the amount of Halo 2 that we were playing back then.
Yeah, it's funny, like if you are like a younger person listening to this and like you've cut your teeth on like Fortnite, like it's really hard to like explain the difference, right? Because like Fortnite you can run on like everything, like, and it's all cross-play, and like you can play on your phone or your tablet or your Switch or your console or your PC. Like if you wanted to do like Halo 2 LAN, you needed like 4 Xboxes and like all this stuff. Like, like it was a dedicated activity. Like you all had to like make plans and like bring equipment over. Like it was a big deal.
Of wires. It was a huge deal. I remember we were in computer lab when Halo 2 came out. We were in computer lab that day. And I think Tyler had picked up his copy like before coming to school that day. And so he got the collector's edition, which came in this cool like steel book that had like a slip cover and like a behind the scenes DVD with it. And he brought his copy of Halo 2 to school, even though like he wasn't going to be able to play it until after school. He just wanted to hold it, and like, and, like keep it with him.
That's so funny. I was just thinking about this the other day. Like I didn't even know these kids, but they were in one of my classes in high school, and he came into class and he showed his buddy the Halo 2 instruction manual. He's like, dude, my mom took me to GameStop to get this morning before she dropped me off. I appreciate that he was too nervous to bring the actual game to school with him, because I also would have been too nervous to do that myself. But the instruction booklet, that's cool. I like that.
Tyler brought the whole thing. He had like I assume that they stopped at whatever GameStop on their way into school that day, and he just brought it with him in his backpack. And I just remember like we were all just like fawning over it. It was like it had like an aura to it. It was like glowing basically, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait until I get off of school so I can go and pick up my copy. And it was just that's a really precious game, and the single player of that game is so damn good. I would love, in a perfect world, if you and I ever had the opportunity to play that game single player, like co-op together, I would love nothing more than that. It is excellent. Like the single player of that game is so interesting, and it is for me, like the perfect follow up to Halo 1. I mean, I would love to see how that hits you now, because I replay that game with some regularity. I still will boot up the Master Chief Collection and just play Halo 2 SWAT, from time to time.
Yeah, it's funny.
So.
I got an Xbox One at some point, like cheap. It came with like I bought a TV, and then it came with an Xbox or something at that point. So I briefly owned an Xbox One, and I did own Master Chief Collection. And I think Colin and I were we had grand ambitions of we're going to play co-op through the entire series. We didn't even make it through one. But it's not that we weren't having fun. It's just, adult life gets in the way and stuff. But yeah, I always wanted to give it a playthrough again, because again, my experience playing Halo 1 and 2 at the time was, yeah, I did play through the campaigns, but it was at my friends, like weird dumb teenagers. Like I wasn't paying like full attention. It was just like, yeah, let's just go and shoot these things and move forward. Yeah, I don't really have any specific memories of it beyond the fact that I did do the thing. Yeah, no, I would love to give Halo like a real sit down and so stuff. Fun. Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. Hey, maybe
I don't know.
I was gonna say maybe Xbox won't even be making hardware anymore by the time we get around to that.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I would love to do that. I would also like Halo as a series. Again, it kind of sucks now, but it is probably worthy. The music of Halo is probably worthy of its own episode of the show at some point.
Yeah, I think ODST alone is worth talking about at some point for sure. Yeah, just overall, I might not seem like the biggest Halo person, and I'm not, but like I really love those first two games. Like they are very special. Like again, I started paying attention to video games in 2001, so right before the first Halo came out. And yeah, it felt like an industry shaking event. Like I remember
totally
my issue of EGM where they reviewed all the GameCube and Xbox launch games, and they had a whole spread on Halo, and we're just like, they had taken pictures of the staff all playing Halo 1 LAN together and like how insanely fun it looked. And yeah, Halo 1 and 2 are great, like, genuinely great games. And yeah, Halo just it's not a part of the zeitgeist anymore. It's a shame. I would even go as far as to say I don't really even view it as like the premier Xbox game anymore. Not that I don't know if anything is the premier Xbox game anymore. But yeah, it's sad. It's genuinely sad. I can't really think of any other franchise that has fallen off to this degree that was as high as it was back then. Speaking of premier Xbox games, let's take a break for Club Baroness Goodbye.
Oh my god.
And then
so happy.
And then Seth is gonna talk to you about Phantom Dust, because I literally don't know anything about this game besides the fact that it's like a cult classic.
Oh my god, Matt, you're in for a treat.
I know I am. And that was Club Baroness Goodbye from the Phantom Dust soundtrack. So Seth, go ahead. Tell me about Phantom Dust. Explain everything there is to know about Phantom Dust.
It's Phantom Dust. Okay, I'm going to try to make this brief. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I know we're running long already and we still have plenty to get into. But Phantom Dust, this is one of my favorite games of all time. This is when I think of Xbox Live on original Xbox, it's Halo 2 and it's Phantom Dust. Mm-hmm. This is a sort of like early to mid 2000s industrial like anime, sort of game, but it's also like it's a third person action adventure PvP like card game. Like you collect cards and build like your own deck of like abilities that you then use in a sort of like arena fighter context. So you build a deck of cards with abilities like your typical like fireball or whatever, but you also had like sort of like movement abilities, like the ability to sort of like levitate in the air and like zoom around the map. And all of this is like built out like a deck that you customize and make your own build, and you can take it online against other players in totally destructible environments that is like, it takes place in this like kind of post-apocalypse Earth that has like, so you're fighting in these like ruined industrial anime landscapes, and you're fighting on like billboards and stuff like this. Mm-hmm. The story setup of Phantom Dust and the reason that the music of Phantom Dust is so cool is the story setup of it is that like there's some strange phenomena that happens on Earth. Nobody knows or remembers kind of like how or why, but there was some sort of apocalypse that happened on Earth when the events of the game begin that force everybody essentially underground. Like the top of the Earth is no longer habitable. There are these there are these sort of like special characters. I think they're called espers that are sort of like able to survive for a limited time on Earth. And those are like your player characters and Esper, and like all of the other people online are Espers, and that's how you're able to fight each other and stuff on Earth. But because of the sort of like amnesiac effect of this like dust that has overtaken the surface of the planet, nobody remembers what happened, how or why, and so the music of the game is all this kind of like industrial, like edgy 2000s like Matrix, kind of vibes, remixes of like classical music like Bach and Mozart and stuff. And this song, Club Baroness Goodbye, is this like grungy remix of like Carbon Habanera, the classic like dun, 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 everybody knows these songs. And so it gives you this feeling of like kind of haunting familiarity. It gives you this feeling of sort of like people getting faint glimpses of the sort of art and music of the world before that they can't quite remember. It just has this really cool vibe, this like moody, effective, like haunting, dreamlike sense of the entire thing in a world that like can't quite remember it. It's a really, really cool and interesting game. And I love it a lot. And you can still, by the way, people listening to this, they did bring out, they announced in like, I don't know, 2011 or 12 or something, that they were making a new Phantom Dust. That got scrapped. And what they did is sort of a make good for the cancellation is they re-released the original game in 4K for free. Like, not even as part of Game Pass, it's free. You can get it on PC, Xbox, whatever, and you can still play it now with full online for free. So, if any of this sounds cool to you, you can literally play Phantom Dust if you want to for free.
I knew it was some kind of arena fighter, and then whenever I've seen footage of this game, I have no idea what's going on because when when they announced that new game, I was like, okay, I remember the name of this game. I remember people that liked it seemed to really like it. So I was interested, and then they just kind of unceremoniously were just like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. we thought about it and decided against this. It sounds neat. Again, when you linked the song and I started listening to it, this is not at all what I was expecting. For one, really gave me a lot of Bayonetta vibes. I know Bayonetta was a few years after this, but that's what it reminded me the most of. Honestly, the thing I mostly associate with Carmen, whenever I hear any form of it, is the Hey Arnold episode where they go on a field trip and they're all like they're daydreaming themselves into Carmen, and then they're playing, the song is playing, and then Arnold he has lyrics about his pants were tailored in the south of France or something.
I remember that.
And you can bet your life I'm going to find a clip of that, and we're putting that into this episode.
My name's Don Arnold. Please have a caramel. Your hair is lovely. Do you like my pants? They're made of satin. The cape's pure Latin. I had it tailored in the south of France.
The south of France, your satin pants. Why don't you ask the lady for a dance?
So whenever I hear Carmen in any form, that's what I hear. So I was also hearing that while listening to this.
Yeah, I mean, imagine, if you will, that you are sort of in this underground bunker where like most of your life is kind of forced to take place, and this is like this dingy industrial like underground bar that is ran by sort of like a large cross-dressing man named the Baroness. That sort of just like stands in the middle of this bar and like kind of just strangely dances to this song. And that's kind of the vibes that are going on right now.
Okay, yeah.
It's such a cool game. The cool thing about this game too is like, it was cross-progressional, meaning that like the sort of cards that you could load into your deck or arsenal, you collect them like in the single player and you bring them with you online. So it was a cool sort of like sense of progression of like, oh, the things that I'm doing, like it truly did feel connected in a way that like most other games with online functionality don't feel. Like the only thing that it kind of makes me think of is maybe Dark Souls, like where like the online kind of stuff in Dark Souls is kind of like so intertwined with the stuff you're doing in single player. Phantom Dust kind of felt like that. Like the multiplayer didn't feel like a separated component. It felt like it was, part of a grander piece. And it's just a really cool and unique game. It's made by Yukio Futatsugi's team, who also made Panzer Dragoon Orta and just Panzer Dragoon in general. But Panzer Dragoon Orta is another really cool and special original Xbox game that I love a lot. And like, he just has such a cool, unique sense of like world building and aesthetic and design, like with kind of arcadey and fun gameplay. When they remastered this game in 4K, they didn't actually have to do anything to it because the textures they made for the game were already in 4K.
Oh,
like they just they got compressed down to 1080 or whatever, because I think the original Xbox actually was the only console of the time that was capable of doing 1080 through composite mumbo jumbo. And they actually made those textures in 4K and compressed them down. So all they did to remaster the game for modern hardware is just took the textures in their uncompressed form. It was already ready to go. It's wild. It was so ahead of its time.
Yeah, that's cool. I had no idea this is by the person that did Panzer Dragoon. That kind of makes sense in a way. I don't know how to explain it. I've only ever played the original Panzer Dragoon. But there is something kind of also like ethereal and otherworldly about Panzer Dragoon in a way.
Yeah.
That fits. That's interesting. I had no idea about that. Honestly, that sounds all really interesting. And if I had owned an Xbox back then, or if I was like older than I am, like it sounds like something I would have checked out. But maybe it's for the best, much like Majora's Mask. Maybe it's best that I didn't try checking this out when I was 13 because I don't. It sounds.
That's fair.
I'm guessing it would have been too much for my little brain at the time.
I mean, maybe, but like I was around that. The reason I got this game at all, and I guess I didn't know this until more recently, but apparently there's weird licensing junk with like, I think Majesco published it here in the States, but for whatever reason, it had like all of these struggles, like getting actually published in the States. It sounds like it's like a small miracle it got published all, and when it did, it was brand new $20.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I know that is because that's why I bought it. I was like a teenager with no money, so you see the box art of this game, and I was like, this game looks cool. It has Xbox Live, and it's $20 sold. You know, and yeah, blew my mind. I love that game.
I don't know why, Jimmy. Why didn't you get this one? I would want to play this one.
Come on, Jimmy.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's take another break here. We're going to listen to "Missing You" from Maple Story, and then we will be back for Seth to explain another thing to me that I have no experience with.
Let's go.
And that was "Missing You" from Maple Story. Surprisingly, from what I know about Maple Story, I think I actually would have absolutely loved Maple Story if I'd played it back then, but for whatever reason I didn't. I don't know why. But please tell me about Maple Story and or "Missing You."
Yeah, so Maple Story, you know, was a huge. I think a lot of people have like sort of early 2000s nostalgia around Maple Stories. This like free to play, you know, sort of browser-based MMORPG where you play as these kind of like chibi, you know, characters. And I played basically any like sort of free online game during this time. I was playing it, you know, like if you name it, I was playing it, everything from RuneScape to, you know, all this stuff. And there was a solid like year and a half, 2 years with OG Maple Story where my friend Cody and I were addicted. Like it was the first thing we did when we got home from school. We would call each other on the phone and just play Maple Story, just like 4-hour sessions of Maple Story with like our phone, you know, hanging off of our shoulder, talking to each other on the phone while we were playing. We would do that every day after school. This song plays. There's a really famous. Anybody who played OG MapleStory knows about the slime tree in Alinea. This is a sort of like weird tree because the game is also like sort of a platformer. It's all 2D, so it's like a sort of like action combat platformer as an MMO. It's really strange and interesting. And you would go to this slime tree because it had just sort of like infinitely respawning slime. So it was a popular grinding spot. In the early game, you could grind there for levels, but in the late game, it was a good place to grind for materials and money and stuff like this. And the way MapleStory worked is every zone of the game had like kind of its own set of instances. So you could load into this like slime tree area hoping to grind, but somebody could already be there. So a lot of times it would be people like trolling you by sort of like stealing your kills or stealing your drops or whatever, or just straight up telling you to leave. like just like, hey, get out of here, kid. This is mine, sort of thing. So it's kind of funny because when you listen to the song, it's this kind of whimsical, gentle, acoustic guitar, twinkly keys. It feels like a lullaby or something like that. But it's like, it's the soundtrack of people like trolling you and telling you to leave.
Okay, that's sick because in my notes I was like, I have no idea like where this plays in the game. I don't know anything about the game, but like in my head, this is like a nice little JRPG village-esque thing. It's just like a cozy little town theme. But yeah, so hearing that's awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so people would like ask you to leave or whatever, but like at the same time it's like it's the soundtrack of not only that experience, but it's also the soundtrack of like hanging out with your best friend after school. So I don't like early MapleStory is very, very precious, very cozy, very like good vibes to the entire thing. It did really cool things like there's a sort of like mid-game area that you have to take this like Zeppelin to, and it's like a long like journey to get there, and in the middle of it the Zeppelin gets raided by like high level monsters, and unless you like you can't take them on unless you're like very high level. So most people would just kind of hide in the below decks of the ship for like the duration of the travel. But every now and then you would get like a high level dude who would just be a badass and he would just take on the enemies that were raiding the ship. And you could just like watch these kind of like legendary, players like take on the raid by themselves, and it was little things like that really kind of like made a vibe around MapleStory, and it's completely unrecognizable now. It couldn't be more different now than it used to be, but I mean, to MapleStory's credit, like it is still around to this day. However long, like 20 plus years later, and people still play it. So
yeah, honestly, hearing all that makes me sad that I didn't check it out. I had, even at the time, I had friends that were talking about it. I don't know why. I never bothered with it. I have no idea. Couldn't tell you why.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go out of order with my notes for a bit, since you were talking about like a free to play PC game.
Sure.
What I spent most of my time on the PC doing in this era, at least online gaming wise, was I shouldn't say I was a part of, there was this program called Beyond. That's BYOND, Beyond. I'm going to guess that you and no one listening is familiar with this.
I'm not familiar with this.
So Beyond stands for, I think it was Build Your Own Network Dream, and it was basically just like this gaming like platform. I don't know how to describe it. Like you would download the client, and then like you would go into different games. Like you browse games either on their website or within the Beyond client itself, and you could join servers of different games. And these were all free games made by like amateur people, basically. It's kind of the OC remix of but actual games instead of music.
Hell yeah.
So like in like 2003 or maybe early 2004, a friend of mine was like, hey, you should download this Beyond thing. I'm playing a Dragon Ball Z like online MMO kind of thing. I was like, okay, Dragon Ball Z was like the biggest thing in my world at the time. It was called Dragon Ball Zeta, and it was version 47. So there were 46 prior versions.
My God.
Yeah. It would be hard and difficult and a lot of effort to go into the extreme details about this kind of stuff. But like, yeah, it was a sprite-based and tile-based movement Dragon Ball Z MMO made by like teenagers, if that makes sense. And like, it was actually, again, I have no idea if it would actually be good now. I would have a guess no. But at the time, for like a free-to-play game, and it's all online, all the people in it are real, you can talk to each other, you can do guilds and stuff. It was the coolest thing on earth. Like, yeah, you talking about like getting home from school and immediately logging on to MapleStory. That's what I was doing, but with this stupid fan-made Dragon Ball Z game.
I love that so much.
It was so cool. I made multiple friends through this game that I still talk to, at least semi-regularly. I think someone, QQual, he left a review for the show at some point or another. He's from the Dragon Ball Zeta days. There's also so much drama going on because it's a bunch of teenagers on the computer making video games. So like factions split up, and like someone got the source code to an older version of Dragon Ball Zeta and turned it into Dragon Ball Zeta 45 revised. And so then like most of the players went there, but then some of the players stuck with 47. There were relationships forming and people faking their deaths and then logging in as their fake sister to tell people that it was everything. People moved to Canada to be with each other. This is like 3 years of my life, from like 2003 to like 2006 or 7. This is what was going on. It was awesome. Like, that's
I love this.
And
yes,
and there were actually cool designs going on in the game, because for one, it's mostly PvP oriented. Like, yeah, there's enemies that you can kill to level up and stuff, but for the most part it's PvP, especially once you reach max level. What are you going to do except kill each other, kind of thing. But it followed the loose plot of Dragon Ball Z, so like when you got strong enough, you could go to Namek, and then you could gravity train like on Namek and stuff. But like, for whatever reason, the gravity chamber on Namek was like the place where all the cool people hung out. So like, if you were a new player and you tried to gravity train on Namek, you'd get killed. But then like, if no one was around, you'd quickly try and get in and train in the gravity chamber. By training in the gravity chamber, I just mean like your health is constantly ticking down, and you have to balance out like your health and stamina to keep your health up while gravity training on Namek. Anyway, this is getting way too in the weeds, but people would just like do raids on the gravity training chamber on Namek. Like, people would like en masse like travel to Namek, and it was also a real 3-minute real-time timer to go from Earth to Namek. So people would you'd send out squadrons, like guilds would go to war, like 10 dudes are all traveling to Namek right now to raid the Namek gravity training chamber. It was nuts.
Oh my god.
It was the coolest thing in the world. Okay, here's the thing that I've never really gotten to talk about with anyone. I eventually became a moderator in 45 Revised, and later that was changed to be Dragon Ball Onslaught, I think is what it was called. And the moderators had tools to I could wear custom sprites, basically. So I made my own, or I ripped my own Kirby Superstar sprite. So everyone else's Dragon Ball Z characters, I'm running around as mirror Kirby from Kirby Superstar. So I was infamous, everyone knew me. My handle back then was Doppelboppler. That was my online handle. And then that was too long to be my full name in the game, so I was just Boppler. So then everyone called me Bop. And then as a fun treat for the moderator team, we would just do goofy stuff, and the sprite artist made Boppler Park in the game, and that's where there's a giant beanstalk that led up to the moderator room there. But but the Boppler Park sign was designed to look like the Jurassic Park logo.
Oh my god!
I don't think I have. I think my photo bucket doesn't exist anymore. But if it does, I might.
Mine neither.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I was doing mostly when it comes to online gaming on the PC back then.
Amazing.
I have so many stories I could tell about that, but the problem is none of it is related to video game music because there was basically no music in these games back then.
We have to make space for this though, sometime. I want to hear everything about this.
Oh, I will say another game I did play on the Beyond Network was Scary Game 2, which was kind of like a group of people would come in and then each would randomly get assigned a role. Like one would be like the serial killer that's trying to kill everyone else. But yeah, you get like doctor and like police officer and all this. Just each person got assigned a different role, kind of like what Among Us has sort of turned into now, but a very like primitive form of it. And you'd run around this mansion and try and like figure out who the killer was before he killed everyone. But the reason I bring it up is because there's whenever you started the game, there was a very bad MIDI version of Don't Fear the Reaper.
Oh hell yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, no, that's my memories of online gaming on the PC back then. I have a couple more PC gaming related stories of this era. Let's take a quick break for the last battle from the video game Cave Story, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit about Cave Story. That was the last battle from Cave Story. Normally I try and not I've been actively trying to not post like final battle music on the podcast or whatever, but
sure.
It's Cave Story, it's a freeware game from 2004. I don't know. I just felt like it. I will say this is pretty far up my favorite final boss fight themes of all time. It's real up there.
It's really good.
Especially when you consider the fact that, if you're listening and don't know what Cave Story is, this is all made by, the entire game was made by one person, Pixel. The sprites, the music, the programming, it was all made by one person. So when you consider all that, it's even kind of cooler in a way. I still get chills at 32 seconds and again at 50. I don't know, just it feels so dramatic, especially you hear freeware game made by one person, you might just be thinking of a relatively simple, I don't know, platformer or something. It's a somewhat halfway Metroidvania, but like with a pretty in-depth story, at least for what it is.
Yeah.
There's way more dialogue and like story and lore going on here than I think you'd probably think if you haven't played Cave Story yet. I would definitely recommend you play Cave Story in some form or fashion if you have never. Still holds up. I played it recently within the past 5 years. It's still quite good. It's on a lot of stuff. We won't get into how icky it feels to support Nicholas if you buy like the Switch version or whatever, but you can also still download the freeware version. It is still up as far as I'm aware. But yeah, I really love Cave Story. It was very formative for me, but Seth, did you have anything you wanted to add about either the song or Cave Story?
Well, yeah, I would definitely co-sign that. I love that sort of like minor key arpeggiated like melody that song has. It's just so cool. So like it's the perfect like final battle song, you know. It just feels like this great mix of like sort of like Mega Man influence and Castlevania influence, you know. It's really good stuff. And yeah, Cave Story, the first time I played Cave Story was when it came to WiiWare. That was when I was introduced to it. And Cave Story, like, that was definitely the first time, like when I think of like my relationship to indie games, I think of stuff like this and like, you know, the things everybody talks about, like Braid and stuff, you know, like indie games that were made by like either one person or like a very, very small team of people. And so playing Cave Story, I just remember being very like impressed with like everything that like, oh wow, this is made by like a dude,
right?
You know. And it's a pretty formative, like when I think back on my history with indie games, Cave Story comes to mind pretty much immediately. Like when I think of like the broad concept of like early indie games, it is that kind of mix of, you know, of those kind of early games, and Cave Story is a big part of it. I played it again. The last time I played it was the 3DS version. I did not pick it up on Switch for the reasons you mentioned, and I haven't replayed it in many years now. But I still think of it fairly often. It comes up in conversation weirdly a lot, actually, and. I was thinking about it pretty recently because I also love Caro Blaster, which is another game by the same dude. And Caro Blaster, I think, is like currently on sale on the eShop for like $2 or something. And I was like, oh man, Caro Blaster, Cave Story, some good video games.
Yeah, Caro Blaster is genuinely pretty good. Not nearly as like in depth as Cave Story is. It's a much more straightforward thing. But yeah, I was very surprised how much I liked it. Did that come to 3DS? Where did I play Caro Blaster? It's been a while.
I mean, it was probably either, I think when it first came out, it was on like iPhone. And it kind of feels like an iPhone game. Like it was definitely developed for iPhone, but it's also on Switch. Like I first played it on iPhone, but yeah, I've replayed it several times on Switch. I love that game.
Yeah, both Cave Story and Caro Blaster, those are big recommends. Honestly, I would even say you could even ignore the Nicholas thing if it ever went on sale. If you could get it like cheap, I wouldn't even feel that bad about supporting Nicholas, but it never goes on sale. I owned the physical Switch version because that was before I found out about Nicholas, I think. But I left that back in America. I think I actually gave it to a friend of mine. I should demand that back. Maybe I'll hit them up in a couple days. I don't know. But yeah, Cave Story is fantastic. It's you know, like I said, I still think it holds up. It definitely, like, the controls are like floatier than you'd probably expect if you were to see footage of it, but that's by design. Like the game is designed around the floaty jumps and stuff. There's also like multiple endings and multiple like hidden paths and different weapons and stuff. Cave Story still fantastic. I would. Yeah, now I kind of want to just load up Cave Story on the PC right now, actually.
Such a cool game.
Such a cool game. Unforgettable characters. The story is genuinely good. Just really love that game. Lastly, I just want to briefly mention the original The Sims. I don't have too much to say about it because, for one, there are people that could talk to you way more in depth about The Sims, but I specifically remember for Christmas 2001, my mom got me Pikmin 1 and The Sims on PC. So like for weeks, I would just go back and forth. I'd play like Pikmin for an hour and then go play The Sims for an hour.
It's a good Christmas.
Yeah, it was pretty good Christmas. I had a lot of good I was very spoiled back then. I'm probably still pretty spoiled, actually. But specifically, I'm not going to do a dedicated break for build mode music because it's very, very slow piano music. But like, it is some of my favorite video game music of all time, specifically the build mode songs in The Sims 1. But I will have it playing in the background while we talk about The Sims a little bit. But yeah, it's... I don't fall into the nostalgia trap as much as a lot of other people do. Like, I don't focus too much on that. Like, yeah, I have nostalgia, and I like thinking about it here and there. I like talking about Dragon Ball Zeta a few minutes ago, but yeah, The Sims build mode music, that takes me back to a place, man. I I don't know. There's something about it. I didn't even like building that much in The Sims. Like, I wasn't, I was 12. I didn't have that much interest in actually building the houses myself. I just wanted to put my Sims in a pre-made house and buy dumb stuff and like set them on fire or whatever. But I would go into build mode just to hear the music for like minutes at a time, and then exit it and start playing the game again. But yeah, I have a deep fondness for the original Sims. It's I never played Sims 2, 3, or 4. I only played The Sims 1 and then like the console port of The Sims 1, like on PS2 or something. There's just something, The Sims 1 just felt more like an open-ended dollhouse to me than like there's way more structure and stuff from what I've seen of the later Sims games, and that's just not as interesting to me.
Yeah, I've never played a Sims game ever in my life. So, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those few, like, I have a few kind of like holes in my gaming career, I guess, and The Sims is one of them.
Yeah, it's yeah, I like I said, I've watched my wife play a decent chunk of The Sims 4, and there is actually really good music in that too, but they just never recaptured this vibe, like this, I don't know, like 1950s, like, it's almost like Fallout-esque, like 1950s, like a parody of like the nuclear family vibe kind of thing. But like, yeah, no, I love the original Sims. It's one of my all-time favorite gaming memories. Also, I learned a lot about PCs at this time because I wanted to put like I would find fan-made stuff for The Sims, like a Spider-Man skin, so you could play as Spider-Man in The Sims. This is probably the last time Spider-Man's going to be brought up this episode.
Weirdly Spider-Man heavy episode.
Those Sam Raimi movies were huge back then.
Oh yeah.
Also, I had a pet Yoda in the Sims that someone made. It was literally just like a stationary Yoda that would occasionally poop and that you had to feed. Because like pets were not integrated into like the original version of The Sims. I don't even know if the original Sims had a pets expansion. I don't even think it did. It's like someone had to like kind of like break the game to like put a pet Yoda in there, and from what I remember, it was basically just like a PNG of Yoda. Like, it wasn't even like a designed Yoda. But so I was Spider-Man living my life with a pet Yoda, and I had to learn how to unzip file. I had no idea. And they're like, yeah, here, you install this by unzipping this file into this folder. And yeah, 12-year-old me had no idea what that meant. So I had to learn how to...
The internet was so good.
Yeah, I learned how to do that stuff from The Sims, largely, which is interesting. Let's go on another break. We're going to play this Donkey Kong Country 2 OC remix, Forest Bird Cushion by Proticity.
Oh, let's go.
This is maybe still to this day my favorite OC remix, but yeah, let's take a listen and then we will be right back. And again, that was Forest Birdcussion by Proticity. That's a OC remix of Forest Interlude from Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Kong Quest. I like noting when these OC remixes were posted, and this one was posted on March 11th, 2004, which is, God, just thinking about where I was on March 11th, 2004. I mean, I guess I was probably in middle school. I was probably in class, but
over 20 years ago.
Yeah,
wow.
That's wild that this remix is 20 years old. It's very yeah, this episode has been very sobering even before we got to the Animorphs talk. Let's go over real quick, I guess, before we dive into the song. OC Remix in general. For those that don't know, OC Remix, it was started in 1999. It's basically just a website where people posted like amateur fan-made remixes of video game music. I wasn't around as early as 1999. I think it was probably 2003, 2004 is when I was really getting into it on the website.
About the same for me.
And yeah, it's funny when you go back and listen to stuff prior to like late 2003, there's like this shift that happens of like, oh, the quality is like generally just bumped way up past like, yeah, late 2003. So yeah, those really early OC remixes, a lot of them are just, they're very not good anymore. But again, that's kind of the point of this episode is looking back at this stuff. So yeah, OC Remix, I don't know exactly how it started in terms of like how they decided what to post, but eventually by the time I was listening to OC Remix stuff, they were on like a judge system, like the staff of the site like picked and voted on like what songs they think were worth being posted on the website.
Yeah, it was like curated.
Yeah. Which, you know, that's a cool thing about it to me, of like they were the tastemakers kind of. Like, yeah, and you know, there were good songs that didn't make it onto OC Remix, either for like either technical reasons or the judges just didn't agree, or I remember there was drama. I don't know that much OC Remix lore at this point, but the remixer here, Proticity, I think he was disliked on the website. I think he had like a toxic personality or something.
I don't remember that.
From what I remember, he was actually like a big part of. He was trying to put together a Donkey Kong Country 2 remix album, because that's another thing OC Remix did.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, they would do entire remix albums. And I think he did finish that remix album, and I think this Forest Birdcussion song is a part of it, but it was never posted on the site because I think there was some kind of fallout between him and other people on the website or something to give you more drama from 20 years ago on the internet.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about. So like, you know, I eventually found other websites that also had remixes, like community remixes, and they were more open and more like democratic kind of, as opposed to like, the system OC Remix had. But yeah, at the time I couldn't have asked for a better like compendium of like video game music back then, right? Because like any game you could think of at the time, or just about any game you could think of, was like remixed. Like there were cool remixes of like anything popular back then, and even a lot of not so popular stuff. That said, I don't know about you, but when I found OC Remix and understood what it was, I instantly went to the Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2 sections of the website.
Totally.
And that's how I found this song. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was it was Donkey Kong Country. I would go to like the various Final Fantasy and Zelda, you know, sort of things, and it was cool. You started to kind of like form, you know, not relationships. You would kind of start to recognize names and stuff. Like you mentioned the sort of like people, the decision makers there. Like many of them were also making their own music on there. Like DJ Pretzel's kind of a legend. You know, like becomes a little bit of a legendary figure, you know, on there, because you would see that DJ Pretzel would be like the approver of, you know, X song or whatever, but also DJ Pretzel's making their own music,
right? You
know, that's also really good. So I don't know, there was definitely like a vibe and a culture to OC Remix, and it still makes me happy like one of my favorite things about GDQ every year is that they still kind of go to the well
Yeah.
of OC Remix. And every now and then they'll play something kind of from the era when I was like way into OC Remix, and it'll just be very kind of nostalgic and sweet. It felt like uncovering a treasure trove. Like, oh my God, like I can load this all onto my iPod and I just have like this cool stuff, you know, like at my fingertips. It felt insane to me.
It was all free.
You know?
Yeah, that's the thing. All of this was free. I remember one April Fool's, I think it was April Fool's like 2006 or 2007. Their April Fool's joke was that they were going to be like a paywall. There's going to be a paywall in OC Remix.
Right.
And,
I remember that.
And like it was pretty obviously a joke for me at least, but you know, I was on the forums at the time and people were not taking it well. Like it was not going over well, and like people, like I remember the moderators and stuff were like fully selling it. They're like people were being jerks to each other even though it was for a dumb April Fool's joke. It was there was a lot of like drama and stuff back then. It's interesting. Real quick about the song. Like I said, I think this is probably my favorite OC Remix still to this day. I'm sure there's like better songs that have come out since then, but I haven't regularly listened to OC Remix in like at least a decade, probably longer.
Same. Yeah.
Like you said, I still hear some newer ones like a GDQ and stuff. I know there's a Deltarune, Rude Buster remix they play like every GDQ that's really good. But yeah, there's just something so damn happy about Forest Percussion, which is also funny because Forest Interlude, the song it's a remix of, is my favorite Donkey Kong Country song across the entire series, including Tropical Freeze. Like, it is the Donkey Kong Country song to me, and I feel like it's so overlooked compared to like Aquatic Ambience and Sticker Brush Symphony. And I just love how melancholy it is. Like, it plays in like this haunted forest with like these ghosts throwing barrels at
hazy.
you. Yeah, there's like a mist through all the levels, and in one of them, it's like you're playing as the spider the entire level, and there's just something like, I don't know, it's like a slower pace level as you're shooting webs out and stuff. So, and it's all melancholy, much like most of David Weiss's music of the era. It's just very. Yeah, melancholy is really the perfect word for it. So to have Proticity take that song and do this like just super upbeat, like bittersweet symphony version of Forest Interlude, it's like this song makes me happy in a way that like most music doesn't. And again, I recognize part of it is nostalgia, both for this OC remix and for the original song.
Sure.
But like, there's something about this song and the fact that he used like bird chirps as instruments that like,
dude, yes,
it is so beautiful. Like, I was listening to this multiple times this past week. I'm not like a I want to go outside and walk during nice weather kind of guy. I'm like, oh, the sun's out, this sucks kind of person. But like, this song puts me in such a mood that like, I'm like, I want to go outside. Like, I want to see the world when I hear this song, you know? But sorry, I interrupted you.
No, like I'm right there with you. It makes me think about like, you know, something my wife and I like to try to do every summer is go to the Houston Zoo and just kind of like walk around. It makes me think of that. Like, it makes me think of like walking outside, exploring the Houston Zoo in the summertime with like ice cream. Like, yeah, it just makes me happy and nostalgic. I love like I'm so glad you mentioned the bird like chirps and sounds, the way that it works that into the mix as this like repeated sort of melody of birds. Oh my God, it's so good, so effective. I love the reverberated like synth, you know, sort of chords that like kind of come in and out. I love that so much. It kind of like feels like it kind of comes into the background, into the foreground, like over and over again. Yeah, it's just a great, it was really nice to like go back and re-listen to this for the first time in years. It really did bring me straight back. Yeah, I
love like when like how the drums come in and out, and like near the end, or not near the end, but I guess halfway through, like at 3:35, like the drums really come in, and like I think they're there for most of the rest of the song at that point. Yeah, it is so good. It's so good. Also, real quick before we move on to the OC remix you want to talk about, I saw this. I think it was in the YouTube comments while I was hunting for other YouTube comments for our final section. But supposedly, according to this YouTube commenter, Proticity didn't even know how to read sheet music when he made this remix.
Oh, that sounds right.
He did
Yeah.
did this by ear and by examining the Super Nintendo sound files of the original. So that's
Wow.
yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I love the song. You know, it's kind of indulgent. I feel like, you know, like maybe the bird chirps, maybe it's like a bit much nowadays for most people's standards. Probably, again, I can hear a little bit of like, when I first heard this song 20 years ago, I was like, I can't believe like this is like a free song that someone made. Whereas now I can hear it. I'm like, yeah, I can hear the amateur qualities of this, but like that's also what makes it good and feel handmade. Like I can see the fingerprints of what he was doing at the time. Yeah, this is a very special song to me. Honestly, I didn't realize how hard this song was going to hit until I was listening to it the other day. I'm like, oh man. This is maybe like my favorite song that we've played on this entire show so far. And that's saying a lot because we've played some good songs.
We've played some good stuff. Well, it should also be said that like a lot of people that you know that are kind of prolific musicians today like really kind of got their start making OC remixes. People like Big Giant Circles and Jake Kaufman, like they kind of cut their teeth on OC remix. So it's like, it is a low-key, very important, you know, kind of like foundational thing for video game music just in general. I mean, more people should just be aware of what OC Remix even is, you know?
Yeah, I agree. They're still putting out stuff. Like, I don't listen with any regularity, but they are still putting out stuff, and it's, from what I've heard, it's good. Again, that Deltarune remix that they play every GDQ, it's very, very good. It's very funky. Did you want to talk about your experience?
Oh God, okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I have it was really funny because when we decided we were going to talk about OC remixes, I have a story that is directly associated with an OC remix song that I'll briefly. It's not a good or funny story, but it's my story. So I got an iPod, I don't know if it was like the first year they came out, but it was probably sort of like, 2002, 2003. I got an iPod that Christmas and it like changed my life. Like to go from like stuffing a CD player in my jeans, you know, with like headphones that weren't quite long enough, and like I would be riding my skateboard and would like skip all the time, to go from that to the iPod was like, I I can't even tell you how my world was just busted open when I got that. And so like getting that and being able to go onto OC Remix and just load up my iPod with like, I mean, whatever, 100 OC remixes, you know, what was so huge to me back then. And it was, you know, it was a very sort of like foundational part of me, like, being a teenager and kind of having like the independence to just have that stuff in my pocket at the tip of my fingers. So I remember I went to visit my biological father in Chicago one summer, and I had my iPod with me. And I was talking on the phone to my girlfriend at the time. I had her in one ear on my phone, and I had my iPod in my other ear. And I basically would just like walk around the neighborhood, talk to her, and listen to music for like hours, just walking around the block in circles. Because his house sucked and there was nothing to do, and I didn't want to be there, you know. And my biological father and I didn't have like and we never had like a great relationship, so I just wanted to spend as much time like out of the house as I could. And so I have very sort of like vivid memories with the song Liquid Mario by MK Vaff, the OC remix of Dire Dire Doc's Liquid Mario, because I was walking around doing exactly what I was just describing, talking to my girlfriend on the phone and listening to music, and there are these older sort of like teenagers that I guess were just getting annoyed by me. They were in like sitting on their front porch like drinking, and I guess I was just annoying them or something, and they just got sick of like seeing me. And I remember I was walking, back, and they sort of cut me off at the alley, and one of them, like, I got jumped. Like, one of them tackled me, and like I like fell to the ground. He like started wailing like on my face. I managed to like kind of get my leg between me and him because I was skinny back then, and I like kicked him off of me. And the whole time, my dad, my biological father, he's a police officer at the time, and he's retired now, but he I told him the whole time, I was like, this is really stupid. My dad's a cop,
Classic line.
Yeah. And so he finally sort of like got off. I mean, I could smell like the alcohol in his breath and stuff. And it was like an unprompted like attack. He tackled me from behind, and like I was all banged up and bruised and bloody and stuff. And my girlfriend at the time was like freaking out because like she was on the phone with me like while it happened. And so in my ear, as I'm getting like beat up, was Liquid Mario by MK Vap. And so like it's like, it's funny, and in like a kind, like I can look back on it and laugh now, but I'm like, oh, like this is like the soundtrack to getting my ass beat.
Yeah, of course.
When I look back at it. But it was also, it's interesting because, I mean, like I mentioned, I won't get too deep into this, but like my biological father and I never had a good relationship, and I spent a lot of my life kind of wondering and never really quite knowing how he felt about me. But I remember when they, when they sort of got off of me and ran away, my stepmom brought me in the house and sort of cleaned me up, called my dad. My dad rushed home, and the way, like, I remember the way, like, his face, like, sort of twisted and contorted. He was so pissed. And he wanted to know where these kids lived. He wanted to know, everything. And I remember, like, that was, I mean, low-key one of the few moments of my life where I was like, oh, like, he does care about me, like, he was upset to see what these people, like, did to me. And so that, I think, like, more so than even, like, the memory of getting jumped or the memory of, like, the OC remix in my ear, it was one of the few moments that I can remember of like, feeling like he actually cared. So yeah, I just, that's a very vivid memory for me. And when I was going back and pulling some of my favorite OC remixes, and this one kind of came into my purview, it was like whatever the sad version of a Ratatouille moment is. Like, that's what it was for me,
Yeah.
So.
No, I get it. That a memory like that would also stick out to me. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And yeah, I'm laughing, and yeah, it's mostly just, yeah, there's some kind of I don't know, ironic detachment, humor value from it of imagining getting beat up while hearing a Mario 64 remix. But yeah, no, that would be traumatizing, and I'm sorry I had to go through that. Yeah, that sucks. But hey, at least it made for a funny moment on a podcast, right?
I mean, hey, being able to, that's kind of what this podcast is about, right? Like, just like kind of relating your lived experience to, to these songs. And that's kind of what that song means to me.
Yeah. I'm going to go off the script of our notes a tiny bit. We're going to take another break, and then we're going to talk about some arranged albums, or just our general, I don't know, this is where I want to put my import shop stories.
Oh, sure.
I'm going to cram in one more OC remix here. I'm going to do Sonic Azure. I think that's by Analog. I don't have it written down, but I believe that's who it's by. We're going to play that for you now. We won't talk about it since it's not in the notes, but it's a good song. Sure. That's all you need to know. So, Sonic Azure. And that was Sonic Azure by Analog. On the break, I did look it up to make sure I got the artist right. It's a remix of Azure Lake Zone, which I think, if I remember correctly, that's from like the multiplayer mode of Sonic 3. It's not even from like the single player. Like it's a song exclusively from the multiplayer of Sonic 3. Yeah, it's maybe my second favorite OC remix. So I look forward to hearing it again when I actually edit the podcast.
Same.
So our final section before we get to the YouTube comment stuff is just kind of about arranged albums. And I guess what I mean by that is we mentioned it at the top of the show a few days ago that CDs were a big part of this era that you don't really see much anymore or talk about anymore. Like the laptop that I'm working off of right now doesn't even have a disk drive,
Right.
I didn't realize that the car I leased in 2016, I didn't realize for months that didn't even have a CD player in it. That's how long CDs haven't even been relevant anymore. It's weird. But the reason I bring it up specifically for this episode is because there was an import shop near my dad's place in West Allis, Wisconsin. It was called the Model Zone. I highly doubt they're around anymore. And if they are, it's probably no good. I went to revisit there when I was like 18 or something. And they'd already mostly converted to like a hentai shop at that point.
Oh, sure.
To the point where I walked in and they instantly like, hey, you need an adult to come in here. Even though I was like 17 or 18 at the time, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good. Like I don't need to come in here.
Yeah.
But when I was like a younger teenager and child, we went there like every weekend almost. And a big part of that was for the imported CDs that they had. I got a lot of Final Fantasy arranged albums here. Not a lot, but at least a few from this place. My favorite one was it's called like Potion Relaxin' with Final Fantasy. And it was just like mostly like piano arrangements of various Final Fantasy songs from across the series. I was very obnoxious back then to probably all the people around me of like they wanted to listen to like popular music on the radio. And I liked Blink-182 and all that stuff too at the time. I'm like no, I want to listen to my Potion Relaxing with Final Fantasy CD. So like
hell yeah.
It's like my family and friends were forced to listen to like piano renditions of Terra's theme all the time. I guess Tina. I think in Japanese it's Tina's theme. But yeah, no, it was very special to me. We talk. I think last episode I talked about how like hearing the Dust Force soundtrack on the radio on an NPR, that was like a big like shift for me of like, okay, like people are actually like taking video game music more seriously than they used to, at least from like a public perspective. And yeah, like just finding out that there was like, oh, there's a whole industry of like video game music CDs that never even made their way to America. For one, that's really cool, but also that really sucks because like I have to go to these CD import shops to pay high prices for like Final Fantasy music on CD, Like prior to this, I can't remember that many instances of like seeing video game music on like actual CDs that you could buy. Like Nintendo Power had like some like you could order like the Killer Instinct soundtrack on CD or something through Nintendo Power. But there just wasn't that much of it out in the open, like out in the world. At best, you'd find like Pokemon albums, but they were like mostly music from the movies and stuff, and just wasn't the same, Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of fondness for the Model Zone. There's not too much to cover beyond that when it comes to music from there, but I did want to also touch on the fact that they had you could rent VHS tapes of anime there, but not only was it renting VHS tapes of anime, it was fan subbed anime.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like because
hell yeah,
yeah, because obviously this is 1999 through like 2003 or 4, so like these were Japanese like Dragon Ball Z movies that hadn't made their way to America yet. So yeah, it was either you watch them with no subtitles or you watch them with fan subs, right? So like, you know, I've seen a lot of fan sub anime in my life. I used to watch quite a bit with my friend Jimmy back around like 2005-ish. But there's something different about fan subbed anime from like an import shop on VHS, right? There's this whole culture that I think is basically forgotten about. Like, there were different fan sub like units that would like talk trash about other fan sub groups. Like
the drama.
Yeah.
So there's drama in every facet of this episode.
I remember renting, it was specifically what, like the 6th Dragon Ball Z movie. It's whichever one has like the androids that they all fuse into one big blue android, and they fight on like in the Arctic or something. And the subs opened up with like, you know, it was like subs by whatever, and then said the group, and it was like way better than the subs by this group. It was
God.
like, yeah, it was just like snide little trash talking, like, but front and center on the product.
I
like,
love that.
It was
Yes.
super sick. I loved it. I think that was like the thing I looked forward to the most when we would rent Dragon Ball Z movies at the Model Zone, was seeing any kind of like fan sub like wars going on. I think there was like a Waypoint article or something written about like fan sub wars back in the day that I'd have to go find it, but like someone else does remember that this was a part of the fan sub culture at the time, and I'm glad that I'm not the only one, because I don't have that big of an audience to talk about the fan sub wars back then. I'm guessing the answer is no, based on like living in like Louisiana, but I know you spend a lot of time in Chicago also. Like, did you have any like cool like shop, not even inherently like import shops, but any like cooler shops like that you'd get video game stuff at?
Well, the closest thing I had to that, yeah, we didn't really have like an import shop. I think there might have been in the mall in Lincoln Park, I think maybe there was a like an import shop that would get like some, you know, Japanese stuff, but I don't think it was video game music necessarily. A lot of the sort of arranged video game and like soundtrack CDs I would get came from like FYE and like Suncoast Video and stuff. I remember one of the earliest ones for me, I should have brought this up in the PS2 section. Another game that we got with the PS2 was Tekken Tag Tournament, which I loved. And I remember finding that arranged, they did like a series called like Namco Sounds, and it had like the Tekken Tag Tournament Namco Sounds version on CD. I remember getting that from, I think, Suncoast. And I loved it. Like, so I would it became like a bit of a ritual. Anytime we would go to the mall or something, I would swing by there or FYE or whatever, and they would have like a dedicated, you know, little section of video game music. And so, yeah, I kind of slowly built up a collection of like video game music on CD. Which, like, you know, CDs were so huge basically until I got my MP3 player. I loved my CD collection. I loved having that stuff and having access to that stuff. I wish I still had it. I probably still have some of it, like somewhere. My parents might still have some of it, but the vast majority of it, I'm sure, is totally lost to time. But yeah, really fond memories of picking up CDs and video game music on CD.
Yeah, my wife, this isn't video game music related, but she has like the whole Sailor Moon soundtrack that she bought. But it's like it's like bootleg though, but it's still sick. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me that it's bootlegged.
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you too that like you know, like I'm sure fan subbing is still a thing, but fan dubbing is still huge. As somebody who is, you know, kind of a hobbyist voice actor or whatever, I've already done many fan dub sort of things that I've been cast in. That's probably like the primary thing that you see online, people just doing fan dubs. It's still massive. Which when I think of like fan dubs, I think of like early internet, you know, people doing like Dragon Ball Z fan dubs or whatever. It's still a huge thing. People are still doing fan dubs all the time. And in fact, a lot of sort of like, you know, early in their career voice actors are kind of cutting their teeth just doing these sort of like unpaid fan dub roles. So that's a little bit of a vestige of early internet that still exists.
Yeah, it's cool. I think I forget Kira Buckland. I think that's the name of the lady that voiced 2B in Nier Automata. Yeah, I think she got her start doing that.
Yeah,
I think she did a fan dub for like Jolene in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6. And then she was eventually, that's her favorite like fictional character of all time, and I think she was eventually casted as the official English voice for Jolene when Part 6 got made and localized. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's genuinely super cool. That's a really cool story. Well, yeah, you'll have to let me know if you hear of any fan dub drama going on, and then we'll make note of it and cover it 20 years from now.
Let's do it.
Lastly, or our last break of the episode. I know this episode is probably going to be like 6 hours long at this point. I was originally had like a whole section. We're not going to talk about this CD specifically beyond what I'm about to say, but my favorite like arranged video game CD that I ever owned. I actually never owned it. My friend let me burn his copy, but it was the Smashing Live CD that came with Nintendo Power.
Yeah.
I was not a subscriber to Nintendo Power at the time. I was always an EGM person. I just didn't, I don't know, for whatever reason, I never subscribed to Nintendo Power. But yeah, he was like telling me like at school, he's like, "Oh, I got this CD with my Nintendo Power. It's all Smash Bros. Music." And I thought it was just going to be like the straight up game music, which is also cool. But yeah, he let me borrow it, and I put it into my computer at home. I'm like, what is this? Like, this is straight up
a seminal album.
Yes.
Like
this was like an awakening to how cool, like, I don't know, like video game music could be to me, because I already loved video game music.
It legitimizes it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like it made it feel legit.
It made it feel like this was like an event. Like the fact that like they sent it out with Nintendo Power, that didn't feel cheap. That felt like, no, we're like promoting this heavy. It was awesome. I hadn't listened to this album in, again, probably at least 15 years until this past week. And I loved it. I loved the entire thing. Like I need to add this back into my like rotation. I'm not even like a big like orchestral person. Like I genuinely, in fact, actively don't really like orchestral versions of video game music, but like this is awesome. To the point where it was hard for me to pick a song for this, but I did end up picking Depth of Brinstar. I assume that's just a bad localization or a translation. I assume it's supposed to be Brinstar Depths. But yeah, we will go ahead and listen to that. We'll talk about it a tiny bit after the break, and then we will do our YouTube comment oversharing corner. So stick with us. And that was Depth of Brinstar from the Smashing Live album. That is a remix of Brinstar Depths from Super Smash Bros. Melee. Like I said, it was very hard for me to pick a song that I wanted to spotlight here. I really also liked Venom from Star Fox. I love this version of Fountain of Dreams is incredible. Even just Green Greens from Kirby. I kind of selfishly, I didn't want the first time we played Kirby music on the podcast to be this specifically. If that makes sense. I wanted to go all in on a Kirby episode at some point.
Sure, yeah.
I think the reason,
I'd love to.
We will definitely do multiple Kirby episodes at some point. I think for me, it came down to this for a couple of reasons. It's the one I remember listening to the most as a kid on my portable CD player. Also, I don't know, Metroid. Metroid at the time in 2003 or 2002, whenever the CD came out, that was my favorite Nintendo series at that point. So, like, I don't know, this felt like paying homage to me from 20 years ago. Yeah, we're going to play this song on the podcast. Also, I just found this song was like maybe the most interesting, besides maybe the medley where they actually have like a balloon popping during the balloon fight segment as part of the song. Like this version of Brinstar, just like, I don't know, it's like telling a story in the music in a really cool way. Like, when it plays,
it has a build.
Yeah, it has that build, and then it plays like the same as fanfare. I don't even think the fanfare plays until like a minute in or something. There's even like footsteps at one point, like in the song. That's really like, it captures the spirit of Metroid incredibly well in what's just like a 3-minute quick little song. I saw some people saying when I was fishing for comments that like it was hard for, like, they didn't like this version because it doesn't have like synth, and like I get it to a certain extent. Like when I think of like Metroid, I think of very 80s, like I think of Blade Runner style stuff going on. And yeah, this is an orchestral arrangement, so it doesn't have that. But no, I think they killed it. The violins are such a good like fill in for like that creepy alien sounding feel that like you would normally accomplish with a synth. But yeah, no, I loved the song. I love this song. I love this arrangement. I love this whole album. This is a really good album. That's all I gotta say about it.
Yeah, it is a seminal album, and my pushback on that with the whole like notion of like this doesn't feel like a Metroid song or whatever, like no, but like the nature of it being orchestral means that it does feel like a Super Smash Brothers song.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like that to me is sort of like the identity of like Smash music. Like it feels true to the spirit of what it's trying to be, and yeah, like. The notion of having like I felt like this was the kind of thing that I could like show my parents, or something, and be like, see, there's an orchestra playing this.
Right.
This is a little, I thought about bringing this up, but it's a little out of the scope of what we were going for with this episode, but I'll just bring it up anyway. Do you remember Video Games Live when that was kicking up?
That's the Tommy Tallarico one, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. It's a Tommy Tallarico one.
I actually went to one on a date like 10 years ago. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. I went to one with my cousin and my uncle Raj, and it was pretty early on in their run or whatever. They did a stop, I guess, in Chicago, and yeah, like it. Like that whole, it just made the entire thing feel way more legitimate. Where now, like, you can go to a PAX and see, video game music being played live, but like back then, like the idea of a live orchestra playing video game music made it feel real and important, like it made it feel like I wasn't just some silly kid listening to video game music. Like, these are people in suits with real instruments, playing this stuff.
Yeah, when I went there, I was surprised. The crowd was very like half and half between like nerds and like older people that were just here to see orchestral music, Yeah. I was genuinely shocked about that.
Yeah, and it's kind of, it warms my heart to see that stuff kind of still happening. Like the Stardew Valley, concert stuff is still, people are all over that. I would love to, be able to see stuff like that. They frequently, do like Zelda Symphony of the Goddess was huge. Kingdom Hearts music live is huge. I love that stuff. I love like kind of taking it to that level. And while, when we saw video games live, I was probably just, whatever, 17 or something, or 18, like with my, like I was that typical kid with like the green Zelda Triforce shirt and like, khaki cargo shorts, just like every other kid my age. But yeah, I don't know. Like there was something about this stuff that just made it feel real. And this album in general means a lot to me too. So I'm glad we stopped and talked about it for a little bit.
Yeah, like you said, it's seminal to, like, I don't know if you were around at the time and really into video game music. Yeah, this felt huge. It's also just cool coming, I don't know how much Sakurai was directly involved with this stuff. Did you ever hear the story? I don't think it was at this concert, because I don't even know if they played the Fire Emblem theme, but there was some Fire Emblem concert where Sakurai got on stage and sang the Fire Emblem theme, like at the
No.
Yeah. I don't think there's footage or anything, but that's apparently a real thing.
Oh my god!
Because like I know Sakurai,
you can't see me, but I have my hands on my face right now. I love this. I want to see this.
Yeah, and like because I know Sakurai is a big video game music nerd himself. Like he talks about it, when he would do these Smash presentations and stuff. And I remember when Simon and Richter were revealed in Smash Ultimate, he was like, "Yeah, our sound team was really excited about remixing Castlevania music." It's like, "Oh, you don't say, Sakurai."
Yeah, right. Dude, I love imagining that. Remember, I sent you that video of Hisashi Nogami or no, sorry, not why am I blanking on his name? The monkey ball guy.
Oh, right.
I'm blanking on his name, but I sent you the video of him singing to the Banana Mania theme song, Hello Banana. I love seeing these kind of like old Japanese men like singing along with music. It just makes me so happy. And Sakurai like comes off as such a shy man to me.
Yeah.
The idea of him getting on stage and singing a Fire Emblem song makes me unbelievably happy.
Well, and also, do you know this, that Fire Emblem is like his favorite series too? So it's like it's like a personal thing to him too. Like he really wanted to get on stage and belt out that Fire Emblem. I also didn't realize until my wife pointed out that like the lyrics of the Fire Emblem song are actually them saying like Fire Emblem, and
it's literally them saying Fire Emblem.
I thought it was like cool Latin or something, so that kind of ruined it for me.
Yeah, no, that's literally what it is.
But yeah, I just thought that was a fun little Sakurai. That's our Sakurai oversharing corner. Let's get on over to the YouTube comment oversharing corner. As a reminder, this is the segment of the show where we read off any funny or memorable or interesting or insane comments we stumbled across while grabbing songs for this episode. Got some weird ones today. I'll start off with a doozy. This is YouTube user Shadow Huang commented on Forest Birdcussion 10 years ago. This that record you throw on when you ready to get it in. I know it'd get me in the mood. Lord have mercy, I done broke out into a glisten.
Into a glisten? I done broke out into a glisten is one of the nastiest collection of words I have encountered in years.
Also, yeah, it's Lord have mercy, I done broke out into a glisten. Lord is an L-A-W-D. It's funny, like my wife likes that Forest Percussion song too, and then I read that comment off to her and she's like, and then I'm like, well, we're definitely putting it in the YouTube comment oversharing corner. She said no. She's like, don't do that. Like it ruins the sanctity of the song.
Yeah, oh my god, that's so gross.
It's very bad.
Gross.
It's very bad.
I don't like it.
Do you want to go ahead with one of the ones, or I think you had one, right?
Well, yeah, the big one, I mean, this is the polar opposite of what we just shouted out. So the big one that I wanted to make sure, that this, just something about this comment hit me like a freight train. And if you go, so this is from the Maple Story song "Missing You" from YouTube user Mr. Chibbles 9 years ago. And if you look at the comments of basically any Maple Story song, it's all just sad people in their 30s, you know, like being nostalgic and missing and talking about like what this game meant to them. So like the fact that this song is called "Missing You" is weirdly appropriate.
Yeah.
And like this user commented, "I wonder if people remember me like I remember them." And like, oh, that's like such a heartbreaking sentence. And like, it's a beautiful comment. Like in so few words, that user managed to capture like exactly the sad, yearning nostalgia of Maple Story.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of in Animal Crossing is either New Leaf or New Horizons, and Isabelle has the line of like, at some point in your life you went out to play for the last time with your friends, but you didn't know it was the last time. Like it's like that to me.
Totally. And yeah, like it made me think about like, you know, like my friend Cody that I played this game with, like we're not friends anymore. We haven't kept in touch in years, you know, and but sometimes like I do think about him,
right?
And sometimes I do wonder if he thinks about me the same way, you know. And yeah, I don't know. I love that comment so much. What a like life affirming, sad comment that is. Ugh.
Yeah, it's funny because like you found that comment like months ago, like when we were first putting the show together, and like, all right, pocket it, we'll get it in there. So
it'll come up sometime.
Yeah. I had for Over Shiver Mountain from Paper Mario, YouTube user Random Homo Sapiens commented 1 year ago, "I literally got to this part of the game in the coldest winter of my city. Listening this music makes me remember it. It was so cold I needed to use a coat with various other clothes underneath and 2 blankets. And even with all of this, I still felt it. The cold, so intense, I felt it spiking and piercing through my skin." Good times.
Good times. Sounds like good times.
You know, not all YouTube comments are like funny to me. Like there's nothing like funny to me about that except for the good times. I just like when people go off on these like long tangents about like, I was cold while playing this part of the game. Like it's good.
Yeah, using like 4 sentences to describe how cold you were playing Paper Mario is pretty good.
And you know what? He sounds pretty cold. So I genuinely wonder where he lives or like what's going on.
Gotta be like Alaska or something. I mean, the winters in Chicago got pretty damn cold.
Yeah, winters in Wisconsin were pretty cold. You know, it's funny. It's been very nice, very like uncharacteristically nice weather in Hamburg lately. Like this whole past week, it's been nothing but sun, like not a cloud in the sky for like a week, and yet there are still like it's like it was 80 degrees yesterday. I was sweating just sitting out on the balcony. But then, like, walking right next to our balcony, there's some dude in, like, a winter coat. And, like, that's always wild to me, but then I have to remember, yeah, Europe just has way more, like, immigrants from all over the place kind of thing than I ever encountered in the U.S. But, yeah, that's what that comment made me think of all the weirdos that I run into in Hamburg that are wearing winter jackets in summer. I wonder, I don't know, maybe they would like Over Shiver Mountain. Maybe they should get on the YouTube comment section.
Just blare that over your speakers on your balcony and and see if they resonate.
Yeah, maybe it'll cool them down a little bit. Do you want to read off this last comment that I've written down here? I figured this one fits more for you than me anyway.
Sure. This is from YouTube user KillerDog48, which is a pretty good username. That I should note that the E in Killer is a 3. So very good. Commented on the song Peril from Halo 2. This is from just a year ago. One of big reasons why this song is stuck with me is because when I played Halo 2, I was just a kid. I was too scared of the first flood level and could never make it past there. One day, I faced my fears and pushed on. When I made it to this level and heard this soundtrack, it was like the game congratulated me for facing my fears. I felt so proud. I always remember that. Well, that's just a sweet comment.
Yeah, I genuinely like that one.
That's just sweet.
I like the idea of like being rewarded with like a calming song, because like I think that is the idea, like from a game design perspective sometimes of like, I think of in Kirby Superstar when you're doing the Great Cave Offensive and then you get to the rest areas and it's like a soothing melody with like very chill backgrounds and stuff, and that's where you save and you heal up. Like, yeah, I think that's by design. So yeah, I just like the idea that he explicitly is calling out this song being a reward for making it through his fears. Yeah, no, I genuinely really liked that comment a lot, Killer Dog 48.
Yeah, thanks for writing that, Killer Dog 48. And I like, you know, as much as I love like old like double digit, you know, YouTube comments, it is also kind of nice to hear people like recently thinking about this in this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just a sweet comment. I can relate to that too. Like when you're, you know, I don't know how old this person was when they played. It sounds like they were a kid, you know, being scared of the flood levels and stuff. Like, yeah, I can kind of relate to that. They're kind of scary.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, I played those when I was a teenager, and it was also, I feel like I was more annoyed than scared, but
sure, yeah.
Anyway, that has been the YouTube comment oversharing corner, and that has been the majority of this episode. I have a lot of editing work ahead of me.
Oh man!
But we're still not quite done. We gotta go over our Discord and Patreon stuff, and then we'll reveal what the next episode is. So Seth, do you want to go ahead and take on the Patreon stuff?
Let's do it. So, of course, you know, this show, patrons get early access to it. If you like the show, a great way to support it is by joining the Patreon. It's patreon.com/allinpodcast. Links to that are in the show notes, as always. And another thing we like to do here at the end of the show is thank our patrons that support us over there. Bit Harmony is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. So thank you to our Golden Banana tier supporters, Rob Yapel, Sean, Shano Baggins Ashton, Tim A, aka NeoPrime33, aka Nintendo Dad number 4, Phelan Ward, Bill Tucker, Marcus O'Neill, Liam D, Gamer Jason, Andrew Wilkins, Alan, #Look to the Cookie, Solo, SAZ, and blah blah blah. And thanks to our Triforce tier supporters, Josh Vaughn, John Cummins, Sparky, Adam Caparello, Shy Guy, Danielina Hosa, Dan and Luma, Bowza, The Don Rob, Foolish Fuji, and Uncle Randy. Yeah, you can get a 7-day free trial to the Golden Banana tier as well, which gets you perks like early access to episodes of Bit Harmony. You can also, you know, again, we shout out the top of the show, but just to reiterate, another great way to support the show is leaving reviews, ratings on Spotify, reviews on iTunes, or whatever podcast service you use. Greatly appreciated. You can also join in on the Discord, which again, links to that are in the show notes. It's free, friendly, welcoming folks. We've got a dedicated Bit Harmony sub-channel in there where we can sound off on show topics and, you know, kind of have a conversation about some of the stuff we chat about in the episodes. And then, yeah, one last time, send in your voicemails to bitharmonypod@gmail.com to be played on the show. We always love and appreciate voicemails, so send those on in to us.
Yeah, apparently Wilk forgot to send in a voicemail, and he was
I saw that.
Yeah, texting to see if we could add it in last minute. I just do it we'll do it in the next episode.
Yeah,
it's fine.
We'll
Don't
get
worry.
it next time. Just send it in, Wilk.
This episode is so cramped, maybe no voicemails is better off anyway.
Yeah, fair.
Speaking of next episode, our next episode is going to be going live on June 2nd, and we're going to be covering Mega Man 9, which is personally a bit of a vanity pick. It's you know, there I feel like pretty much everything I guess Anodyne 2, there wasn't much relevancy to that at the time, but I feel like we've mostly been covering things kind of relevant. But yeah, Mega Man 9, nope, I don't care. I just want to talk about Mega Man 9 and the Mega Man 9 soundtrack. Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like, yeah, indulgent vanity pick, whatever. Who cares, man? It's our show. Do what we want.
That's true. Also, you know, I also feel like there's probably people out there like, where are the Zelda episodes and stuff? It's like, hey, it's fine. We'll get there eventually. We'll
someday we'll get there.
We'll do a dang Wind Waker episode. Who knows when, but it'll happen. I think the episode after Mega Man 9 will be a pick that you see coming, and that is a popular pick. So don't worry about it.
That one will make you happy, you know. That'll make you happy, you nerds.
And hey, Mega Man 9 is personally like my favorite action platformer of all time, and just a fantastic soundtrack all around. So
I can't wait to replay it, like for that episode. I haven't replayed the game in a while, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's funny. I replayed it like a month ago for no reason, so I'm looking forward to playing it again in a few days.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Okay, cool. Taking us out this time is the Route 26 theme from the Pokemon anime. See y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.